Oh, I think I'm on. Peace, YouTube. This is FleurBrun coming to you today. I'll wait until you check on in. Check on in. Blissful Sunday. I think it's Sunday, right? Is it Sunday? I think it is. You know when you think you have enough coffee and you really don't? This is let me give a shake. Hey Melissa, I want you to come have coffee with me, Melissa. Let me give a shake for the haters on the last live. Let me take a sip for the haters. Oh, oh, feng shui. Hey Chan. Mwah. Hey Chan. This is for the haters. Let me take a sip for you. What? Oh my god. Anyway, check on in. I'm only coming in because I forgot the last part of my video. I was supposed to talk about the fungi, the bioweapon, the zombie apocalypse that your Willy Wonkas have already released. So we're going to talk about it. So check on in. This is listen, y'all. It's Mountain Espresso over the rocks. Oh, and you know, I don't like sweet coffee, but they add a dash of maple. Oh my god. It is so good. Oh my god. So I'm here. It's overcast today, which is good. It was raining a little bit. So I'm a little wet, but that's okay. It's kind of cleared up a little bit. It's chemtrail free, gratefully. It's been like that since I've arrived. Let's hope it stays like that. You like iced coffee too? Oh. Listen. I'm not a drinker. I'm not a smoker. But god darn it, I love my coffee and I love it like I love my men. Nice and caramel and smooth. Let me behave myself. It's Sunday. Isn't it the holy day? Or is that Saturday? Oh, Saturday is for the Israelites, and Sunday is for the Christians, right? What day did what day does Islam? Islam is every day, like right around 5, right? Yeah, let me take another sip for haters. Y'all were listen. Last live I did, y'all. It was off the chain. That's how I knew it was relative. You saw how many bots came in here that YouTube sent? Oh my god. People couldn't get in they couldn't even watch the video. Hey Cynthia. Oh my god. Oh, that's so good. I think I'm gonna get another one. Hey AJ. I think I'm gonna get another one. Maybe I should splurge today on coffee. I can't do too much coffee. It's not good for me. It's not good for blood type O's. Okay, we're not really supposed to mess with coffee. But if it's the apocalypse, god darn it, I should at least, I should at least get the shenanigans on. Anyway, check on it. Oh boy. I'm gonna wait until we get to 500. I hope everybody's okay. This video might be gaslighting. So I don't know. If you get gaslight by talking about fungus, bacteria, bioweapons, your government coming against you, apocalyptic zombies coming out of people's noses and heads and their butts. We'll talk about that too. This may not be the video for you. Oh, Cynthia, I shouldn't have told you. Cynthia, ignore my statement about the O's. I'm gaslighting you. It's true though, but listen, I mean, if we're gonna have a good time on this diabolical planet before we go into ascension, listen, I lost my mom, my dad, my grandma. I'm on and popping. I'm feral. I am wild and feral, y'all. The only thing keeping me somewhat sane is my children, and they're big now, so they can't really stop me. Can't stop, won't stop. You know what I mean? Oh, it's starting to rain again. Here comes the rain again. It's so beautiful. Because there aren't any chemtrails, gratefully, I'm unafraid of the rain. Whenever I see the chemtrails, boy. This woman has coffee too. This woman's walking with her coffee, and her coffee is bigger than mine, and I've got coffee envy. You ever see people who are like... Let me stop. I'll wait until we get 500. It's raining. I have my window open. I'm going to leave it open for now until it starts pouring. And then I'm going to have to close my window. Are we almost at 500? We're not there yet. So I'll start the conversation at 500. I hope everybody's well. Put a handy dandy like on the video. Hopefully it stays up. Oh, mother freaking Ireland, it is in the house. Big up to Ireland. Y'all, you already know my Irish brethren. Me and you are like this. They are some of the baddest sea stars and sun stars, y'all. Don't you believe it? They talk reckless about the Irish. Y'all, my friends from Ireland, they bowdy. They're probably the bravest. Like, you know how Braveheart? I just admire their consciousness. And I'm not saying everybody's conscious in Ireland. I'm not saying that, but when you see a collective form of consciousness coming from a country where the men are disallowing for their country to be taken over by savages and they aren't going to tolerate their women being abused, like, I am so about you. Like, I love that kind of collectiveness. I wish our men here, I wish they would come and battle for us. You know what I mean? I mean, they could learn something from a country like Ireland. Y'all about that life, and I really appreciate it. You know what I mean? Constance said, okay, yeah, I just, I'm not saying they're the only country, but I just notice it. You know what I mean? There may be other countries. Y'all can shout out your countries if you have your Braveheart men fighting on your behalf, making sure your women aren't getting kidnapped and children getting harvested. You know, when you're living in a country like the United States, when so many children and women are being kidnapped and accosted, and there aren't any sort of protests on their behalf, and you don't see men running out with with like pitchforks and and gunned up and going for the Willy Wonkas, then you're not really protected. So I just admire countries that are like that. You know what I'm saying? Big up to all the countries where the men love their women and protect them with all of their might. You know what I'm saying? I go to Ireland, but y'all are too far. I'll come and visit y'all. Okay? And then, I remember somebody came on my live, was like, the Irish are prejudiced and so on. We're not talking about the Irish from the United States. Okay? We're talking about the real Irishmen who live in that neck of the woods. We're talking about the Irish over there. I'm not talking about everybody living, people who've migrated and come over here and have been mind controlled by the American system. And now they have all kinds of weird social, psychological infiltration. We're not talking about that. Well, Pitchside, he said they protect me. Thank you very much, Pitchside. You know what I'm saying? Remember years ago I was going to build a male army? I was going to cultivate males to build an army for me and my sea stars. I really was. I don't know. I have moments on YouTube. I was going to build myself a male army. I was going to get some of the strongest and the bravest, get them together, clean them out, because I like to clean y'all out, get the parasites out your butts, do a little fasting, get you real strong, get your virility up. What? Yeah. I don't really have that incentive anymore. I was a little younger back then. It may happen again, yeah. Maybe, yeah. Starve out the inflammation. Because men are beautiful. Like when they're strong and they aren't infiltrated, what? They will fight. They will fight for their communities. They will fight for everything. But unfortunately, they put so much soy in all of the food, and they eat too much goddamn chicken. And chicken is the number one feed for chicken is soy. So you got all this soy and everything. If they eat any sort of grains, it causes inflammation in there and it blocks their testosterone. You know what I mean? Like, take some of the bushmen. Like, the men that live out in the bush. Like in places like I said, you get men who live out in the countrysides. I'm talking about all, like in France, Africa, like the South African. Big up to our South African brethren too. Big up to our South African brethren and our Kenyan brethren. You're about that life too. Okay? When you get our bushmen, I heard Nigerians are being attacked in Ghana. Is that true? Look, can we all get along? There's no reason where you need to. I don't know what's going on with you. And I hope our African diaspora realizes that it's your government, right? It's your Willy Wonkas that are doing it. I don't understand why you fight each other on behalf of your Willy Wonkas. It's probably the Jesuits, which is the same motherfreakers in the Middle East causing a wreck over in the Middle East. It's the same motherfreakers. They just like to create coups. They start beef, and then you just fight on their behalf, and then you don't realize it was a setup. Come on now. You be smart. See, if you're not messing with that soy, you wouldn't have to worry about that. That's what I'm saying. The soy is messing with you. And if it was up to me, I would have you all living in the jungle. You know, making sure we keep you safe and clean. And you wouldn't have any more mind control programming that disallows you from being your best. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So, big up to our African diaspora. I hope you aren't battling each other. Please stop. Don't fight on their behalf, please. They're psychopaths. You know they're vampires, right? You know, like Bram Stoker's vampires. Those are who they're talking about. All those Bram Stoker videos, all those vampire videos, you know they're talking about themselves. They're the ones who drink babies' bloods, they eat babies, they want to defile purity in children. Like, they're psychopaths. They're not even from here. They're not even human. And all they do is pay everybody off. That's why your whole social media is being infiltrated. You can't say certain things. It's because the United Fakes give so much money to foreign nations that are diabolical that they have the money to buy everybody off. Okay? So you can't trust everybody nowadays because everybody's being paid off. Okay? Oh, the nail book. Oh my God. Kiki Mancy. I've got to find it for you. I'm sorry. The last feed, I asked if Saki was here. Saki knows Kiki. I got to email Kiki and get the book. It's in my old phone. Hey, Ashe. Kiki Mancy. No, it's Kikimancy. I think that's it. She's on my IG. Can someone go on my... I'm asking a lot, right? Can someone go on my IG and tag Kiki Mancy? Some of you know her. She's the one you got to get that book from. That book is the bomb. She gave it to me years ago. And I was like, everybody needs this book. And of course, they don't want you... Oh, they got more coffee. Oh. They don't want you having this information because then you'll be healthy. And then you heard they're locking down flights to... Ashe, no. Why? Why are they locking down the flights to Mexico? Oh, we're going to be on tonight. We're going to be on tonight. I love you too, Occult Lectures. I got some news about, speaking of Brother Panic, I've got to get a shout out to Brother Panic in the quantum realm. He is so... we got to talk about... Okay, we're going to talk about that tonight on Zoom. I'm really disturbed. I want to give a shout out to Panic, Brother Panic in the quantum realm. That brother is... Listen... I talk so much smack about Brother Panic. Remember, y'all? And I tell you, he is the bomb. His wife, too? They're amazing. And in the quantum realm, he has taught me so much. God darn it. Like, sometimes you just... Maybe I wasn't mature enough to take in the information at the time, right? Remember? I apologized before he transitioned. And then I was so on the bandwagon. But his realm and what I learned before we start, because we're almost to 500, I'll just tell you this. So remember I said before, when my mother and father transitioned, I'm sorry, my mother and my mom just transitioned, many of you know. So she opens up another realm. When my father died, he gave me the scarab. And I was always wondering why there was an Egyptian connection to my parents. I was like, why would they have like a comedic, you know, because I was never into comedic studies. Some people are into that. I'm not against it, and I love looking at the relics and listening to the history, but I've never been into it. So I actually was approached by a elder being, I don't know what you call it, and they told me, they let me know the reason why I was, hold on, the reason why that I was having my mom and my dad were able to give me information from the comedic genre is because that's my bloodline. I was like, what? You know, because everybody says, oh, I'm a part of Egypt, I'm a part of Sumeria, because I really feel connected to the Sumerian like Sumer, ancient Sumer. I always told you that. I didn't feel ever connectedness. I don't say that I did, but I didn't feel connected to it. Okay, let me start, y'all. I'm at 500. Okay. We'll discuss that later, but just FYI, I found out because your parents can only give you what they come from. And because I guess what bloodline I come from, it is from the comedic line. That's why they're able to give me that. That's how they gift it. That's the bloodline I come from. I'll talk about that later, maybe in another video. So we'll talk about that later. But let's get into the topic of discussion. It's appropriate. It's raining. It's fungi. It's very mushroomy today. Big up to the waterways that are moistening up the world to make you more pliable for fungus infestation. Okay, so let's get into it. So many of you understand and understand that I've talked about before. Oh, did I do my introduction first? Wait. Yeah, I did. Okay. I've talked about before that, you know, the Willy Wonka was planning another pandemic. But this one was going to be, it wasn't like the first one. The first one was a dress rehearsal. It was to see what people would do, how easily they would be convinced to take bioweapons of mass destruction, how mind controllable they were to listen to the numbers and stats that were basically geoengineered on your behalf to control your mind and to make you perceive things in a way that would make you move in accord to however they wanted to interface with you. If they wanted you to take a blah blah, you take it or what have you, right? So that was a dress rehearsal. That was basically a beta test to see how well they could globally advance a so-called pandemic and get everybody under one accord. Okay, that was the pandemic. This bioweapon, this fungi bioweapon, big up to Cherish was the one who sent me the coffee. If you look in my pin, y'all, at the beginning of my video, you will see the pin of the coffee. This is what I'm saying. They're messing with us. They're gaslighting us. This is how diabolical these bastards are. They created a coffee, The Last of Us, which many of you know is a apocalyptic movie show that talks about people being infested with a fungi kind of parasite that takes them over and makes them look like big fungi people, big mushroom people, like fungus type of people. Okay, so they just created a coffee, The Last of Us, which adds what? Mushroom to the coffee. And I told you before, I suggested, this is my suggestion, that when we're living in a time when there's a heightened amount of radio wave frequencies that are pulsating constantly, and I always use the reference as we could go back to Fukushima and Chernobyl when you saw the black mold, the fungi was symbiotic with the radiation. It literally was amplifying and replicating and eating the radiation. That lets you know that radiation, a highly radiated environment, along with all of the wonderful ingredients that help to amplify and to create a healthy homeostasis for fungi, is why everything's wet out here. Okay, you got rain, floods everywhere. You don't think that's by chance that they know that we're in a full-on pole shift. I'm going to say it again because they always get gaslit when I say pole shift. Pole shift. We're in a full-on pole shift. And with that pole shift comes a lot of water. And with water and moisture in the air, the water molecules, and no sunlight. And I've talked about the fact that they took the sunlight away the last big eclipse. Now, let me go back a little bit because I'm going a little too fast, okay? Last spring of 2024, we had that fake eclipse. Now, many of you don't realize that the sun and the moon were not in the same location. It was a lie. It was literally a scam that they made it seem like we were having a whole eclipse. There was a young lady I shared. If you look on my community, you're going to see a video, or not on community, you'll see a video of a sea star, blonde hair. She talks about the planets weren't aligned in the way that they were projecting to us, and that we really weren't in an eclipse. That was false. But what people did notice who looked up in the sky, they noticed that the sun was covered and it wasn't uncovered. Now, my personal opinion is that the sun is fake anyway. It's a sun simulator. We don't know what version, what the version of it is. They change it all the time, but it was covered. Now, why I'm going to bring this up is it's important to the fungus and how you create an environment that is very a healthy homeostasis for kind of fungus that you want to overtake the living beings on the planet. Okay, so they take away the sun, and after this whole big shenanigans with the false eclipse, which was in 2024, I think it was, y'all, can you remember? Was it in April? Or was it in May? Was it in April or May? Can someone remember the date? Can someone someone put the date for me? Okay, so get the date if you can. So during the fake eclipse, afterwards, big up to Delmarche, big up to our family who gave us some accounts of what was going on after the eclipse. Many of you realize, and we discussed this before, but this is for those in the back of the room who just came. April, thank you. April 8th, thank you, Keisha. Thank you, not you. Thank you. Thank you, my loves, African Soul Star. Okay, so April 8th. So, you remember we discussed after the fact that these sunflowers, listen to the name, sunflowers, stop facing the direction of the sun. Do you remember this? Okay. That was one account, right? Flowers weren't any longer facing the sun. Then we had our sea star, Dalmache, on my Zumbies, talk about the fact that her brother had solar panels. I think it was Dalmache's brother. And he noticed that normally he was getting all this sunshine, it offsets the bills, your bill. You don't pay an electric bill if you have solar panels on your house. He noticed that his bill was no longer like low, and that there was no sun. He noticed that the feed coming in from the sun was really, really low, like almost he wasn't getting any sun, the solar panels. And he has full on solar panels facing the sun. There was nothing covering it, right? And he noticed that. And he noticed that he wasn't getting any more sun from the solar panels, even though the sun was bright and there wasn't anything infiltrating or covering it. Okay. Then we also noticed that people would have like onions or like things on the counter, like potatoes. Many of you know potatoes, and some nightshades that were on the counter. I think it was Oracle from our group. And that it started to sprout on the counter. Now remember, a lot of things won't sprout unless it has a certain kind of environment. Especially if it's night, it grows in the night, and it sprouts at nighttime because that's how the process works. And notice that the sprouts were happening on the counter in the middle of the day. Okay, there were a couple other accounts. Oh, and then we noticed that, big up to Watana, another sea star from my Zumbi group. Also, we know, are you guys there? Are you guys there? Let me know if you're there. I don't know if I lost you. Let me know if you're there, y'all. I think I might have lost you. Okay, you can hear me okay? Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Okay, so then we started to notice Watana from our group said her vitamin D was dangerously low, like really, really low. And she was getting sunshine. And then I kind of asked the people, I was like, people I know that live in really sunny areas, like, what's your vitamin D? Are you having like symptoms of vitamin D deficiency? And about 70 to 80%, that's my guesstimation. 70, 80% of the people I talked to all said that they had all the symptoms of low vitamin D, even though they were living in regions where they were getting a high amount of exposure to the so-called sun. Then I theorized that we're living in the vampires' time, like 28 Days of Darkness, like that movie when the vampires came out, like during what was in Alaska, and they came out because there was no more sunlight, and they came out during that time. I actually theorized that we're living in darkness, and we have perceived light, but it isn't light. That's why all these beings are kidnapping, all the Satanists are in full throttle. Like everything that's dark and evil is feeling really comfortable right now out in the daylight, what we perceive to be as daylight, because it's not daylight. Okay, why does this matter? Okay, so, I told everybody, and I get this from Jewel Brookman. Jewel Brookman wrote a book. Oh gosh, I wish I came to you. I wish I remembered the name exactly. It was a book talking about getting something like, I have the book. It's in my, I can't remember. It doesn't matter. talking about the fact that we are not getting enough sunlight. And most of us require a lot of sunlight just for healthy bones and immune system to be on and popping. So she had said that we use grow lights and use that as an alternative to give us, what we, how you have grow lights in the house if you're growing like indoor plants, kind of like that, just to help us a little bit, to give us the Dr. Jewel Brookman. Thank you. I love her, love her, love her. I was under her tutelage for so many years. Totally just brought me to another layer of consciousness, like leagues ahead so far. Anyway, to add grow lights to make sure we get enough sunlight. And then Rudolph of Germany, the tall white alien, many of you know, I talk about him for years. I know many of you feel a certain way. It doesn't matter how you feel, because it's how I share the information. And I've learned a lot that every time he shared something with the collective, which most people don't subscribe to, most people don't think he's real. He is real. I've known him for over almost 10 years, right? Rudolph of Germany, the tall white alien, had said that the new pandemic was going to come out, right? And that we were going to, we were actually going to have this pandemic come out, and it would be the real pandemic, and that this would actually be what, oh, hold on, the popo's here. Oh, hold on. Ooh, I don't know what's going on. Is it me? We're going to talk about fungus. I talk about fungus. Anyway, so we have this this concept that Rudolph said. It's not a concept. He said this was about 10 years, roughly. No, I've known Rudolph for longer than 10 years, because I remember taking his intel. It was a while ago, but basically said within the last couple months, he said they were planning to do another pandemic, and this pandemic would be the highest death rate ever. Like, it literally would take people out. It would be like 70% of people who caught it would get it, and they would just die. Okay, so he kind of brought that up, and he said the last one we had, they kind of did a tester, but this one would be the real deal. And he said that they didn't even want to release it because it was so deadly. They needed to make sure that their antidotes work for their people. Okay, so he was talking about a lot. He talked about to a lot of people that he really had to find out if this, in fact, this type of I guess they always have an antidote. They always have something for them. He wanted to make sure that the people that were releasing this new super pandemic, this fungus apocalyptic zombie pandemic, they wanted to make sure that they had the right antidote, that it literally would make sure they wouldn't get it. That's how strong it was. And they didn't release it for a while. They were doing a lot of beta tests, probably kidnapping people, using the experiments with the underground tunnels. That's what they do. And there's a country who does things like this. I won't talk about them because they're the unnamed ones, but they're the ones in the news all the time now, because their government is out of control, because they're ran by Babylonian Satanists. You call them by different names, but they're Babylonian Satanists. Those are the ones rolling this entire planet, and those are the ones who are rolling out this fungus apocalyptic zombie bioweapon. Okay, so he talked about that they weren't going to release it, but when they did, you've heard my video before, the one that they tried to insert, talked about meningitis and other things that they might call it to kind of cloak what it is, but it was brain inflammation is how it showed up, when the brain would actually be inflamed, and it would cause bleeding in the eye and bleeding in the nose and the ears. Okay, so if you notice the language lately, because I think I gave you that video, how long ago? That video was a while ago. Maybe it was in 2024 at the beginning of the year. You guys got to go back to the video, because I don't remember. It was like, I remember I talked about it, and I was like, it's gonna be cloaked. It's like meningitis, measles, what's the other one? Marburg. They're gonna call it different things. It's all the same thing though. Okay, so they had a planned release for it. Okay, but it was pushed back. Ebola, it's called a lot of names, Ebola, what have you. So it's pushed back. Then, as I noticed, all of the rain and water all over the earth right now, every country, every place, I was like, oh, wow, they're going to use this time for the release. Because in order to make a fungus amplify, grow, it has to be an environment that's cohesive for its replication, right? So you have pulse waves, which many of you saw. They have pulse waves going all over at nighttime. It starts about after dark, and it pulses all over, especially in the United States. They showed it. Someone recorded these frequencies that are happening when people are sleeping, and it's pulsing. Those pulses were like, it shows up on the screen as like purple, kind of like, it looks like purple, I can't explain. It looks like purple paint. Like it's like the way that it shows up, it like pulses like this. That pulse wave has been expanded and amplified during the time with all these floods. And you know, it's accompanying these floods is a high amount of humidity. Do you know what does well in darkness and humidity? Remember when you'd have rainstorms back in the days, for some of you who go outside all the time? What did you notice when you go outside if it rains at nighttime? If it rains in the day and you would go into the forest or around the, you know, the grass or anything, and what would you notice would happen? What would you notice was growing overnight in your gardens or in the woods after a good rain, after night? Ours already said it. Mushrooms. Mushroom circles will show up. Okay. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. I'm a quack. I got to put that out there because, you know, they'll say, oh, she's giving medical information. I'm not a doctor. I'm not anything. But you don't, anybody doesn't notice the rise in cancer rates where people are getting it and just dying right away. They don't even have time to get rid of it because it's literally they get diagnosed and then they die. They're calling it super cancer. For the zombies, you already know where I'm going with this. I got to be careful of how I say this online because, you know, you already know what kind of environment we have. But you do know my perception of what cancer is. This is my this is my opinion. I'm not a doctor and I'm not a nurse. Is under a microscope, which I've happened to see it, it looks like mushrooms and fungi. I'm just saying how my opinion is when I see it under the microscope, it looks like fungi. And one of the things that I used to talk about years ago, which one of the doctors in Italy, I forgot his name, I have him on my page. He was the one who was treating these so-called fungi under the microscope with bicarbonate. And why bicarbonate is like baking soda is because if you ever seen, I'll use an example, if you've ever seen like snails, yeah, the boys were really cruel when I was young. You know, boys do things like this, and maybe they're not as grossed out or not as compassionate with bugs or animals as maybe women are. It's just a judgment. But I remember when I was younger, the boys would always see snails. Remember that? And the boys would go and see snails, and they would go and get salt. And what would happen to the salt? What would the salt do to the snail? Let's see if you guys have ever witnessed that. What would the salt do to the snail? Keisha's got it. Very good. Jamoji's got it. Okay. They would shrinky dink. It would be like a shrinky dink, and they would just curl up and just dissipate. Okay. It would destroy it, kill it, but it would melt. So yeah. That's what bicarbonate was known to do. To, you know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, I'll leave it at that. There's an Italian doctor who was doing like all these catheters and stuff with it, and it was working, and they were going after him. They put him in prison. I think they vilified him, what have you. That's another conversation for another day, but you see where I'm going with this. The cucarachas, you know, had some sort of sport, and you remember even, okay, so let's go back. I don't want to go, I don't want to confuse you too much, but I got to keep going back to that so-called fake apocalyptic sun destroyer, which was the eclipse, right? So remember the eclipse I talked about? They took away the sun, they covered it, and they made it seem like it was eclipse, but it was completely covered, but is a fake illumination in the sky, but it's really that we're living in the darkness. Do you remember I showed you a scene out of the movie, which is one of the movies I always tell you to watch, is Body Snatchers. It had an aleph, right? It's an aleph kind of thing, so on. You got to look at the beginning. You'll see this. Go back to my videos because I explain it so much better. I'm kind of just going retro and bring you to what I made an observation back then. Remember when I showed you the beginning scene out of Body Snatchers? Before the spores from space came to Earth, what they came down and saw, it was the same shape, Aleph. It is a Hebrew symbol that when they beamed down to Earth, it had an Aleph. The same symbol that they showed during this, that they showed us, was a shape during this so-called eclipse. It's relative, y'all, because they like to show you what they're going to do before they do it. Okay? It was super spores. What is fungus and mold? What do they release? They release spores like mold and certain kind of fungus release spores. Okay. Remember, fires tend to release spores. Water tends to help replicate the results of the spores, which is like a fungus or a mold or what have you, right? Okay. So all I have to say is that Root of Germany gave us the information telling us that they were going to release a bioweapon that was going to be fungus based and that it was going to kill off. When people got it, they only had a 70% chance of, it would be a 70% chance of death. The first pandemic was a beta test. It was a dress rehearsal. This is the real deal. And they are nicely terraforming the environment to make it very conducive for funguses to amplify. And if you notice, that's why I told you a while ago, and you guys resist me. I don't know why. You think I make these things up. Maybe I think I do, but I'm just very observant. And if you know me over the years, I'm pretty good at that observation, just with my clinician kind of mindset, is that you notice they're putting mushrooms in everything. And mushrooms is becoming, if you look at all your coffees, if you look at all the things, they're putting mushroom and they're making it seem like it's medicinal. Now, I'm not saying mushrooms can't be medicinal, but in an environment where you have a mass amount of radiation amplifying, radio frequencies amplifying a replication, a unicellular kind of component, and it is being used as a growth amplifier, wouldn't it make sense that that's why they're putting mushrooms in everything? If you look at everything, go in the store, look what they're putting in everything. And look at all these social media people that are telling you, oh, go take mushrooms. Oh, this medicinal mushrooms. I noticed it years ago. Remember when I was questioning everybody that were telling people to take mushrooms? Like, remember, like, and that's how you know who's conscious and who isn't, because there's a consciousness you have exterior wise, but there's an internal consciousness that comes like from you having an inner knowing of things that you don't know where they come from. Oh, thank you, my daughter. My daughter's father was diagnosed with mold spores in his lungs and he teaches deep comedic knowledge online. Thank you, Ma. I'm very sorry about that. You know what gets rid of mold, right? What do we clean our houses with? And big up to Delmache, I think it was Ashe, I think it was Selma. Those were the ones who found out that the white vinegar, the thing that they don't want you taking anymore, the thing that they try to only make you take apple cider vinegar, they got you off of white vinegar. That's the thing you clean your house with that get rid of mold. Do you remember that? Okay. Distilled vinegar, white vinegar. The one thing that they don't have you take anymore. My love, I hope that he feels better. Thank you for sharing that. Share some of the information from this video that might help him, please. I hope so. Ammonia, they vilified ammonia, putting ammonia in house, remember? But things that you could put cohesively in your body were things like white vinegar. Remember we used to make all our salad dressings with white vinegar? How come you don't do that anymore? How come they switch? You see how diabolical they'll nicely call you away from something by adding something to it. So they'll be, oh, apple cider vinegar. Oh, apple cider vinegar. If you notice over the last, how many years? They've just been pushing apple cider vinegar. They've pushed you away. They've nicely called you away from white vinegar and they don't take it away. What they do is they put something else in the algorithm and push it. That's why I tell you, be very careful what they push. Y'all always tell me I'm paranoid. Oh my God, FleurBrun, you're so paranoid. And so I've been right most of the time. Not all, but I've been right all these years with the veganism, all that stuff. When I would question, I'd be like, why are they pushing mushrooms? Why are they pushing mushrooms on everyone? Why are they make psychedelic mushrooms and everything? Why are they pushing mushrooms? Why are they putting mushrooms in every form of food? Like all kinds of things. Like they're putting in all kinds of ingredients. Like they're adding mushrooms to it. Okay. I'm telling you that I would, this is my opinion, this is what I do. I would stay away from anything fungus-based mushrooms. I especially as someone who loves to make things with mushrooms, I stay away from mushrooms 1000% right now. I wouldn't put it in my body. I wouldn't put it in my coffee. Especially coffee has a lot of acidity with the mushrooms. It probably makes the mushrooms go faster in your gut. Okay, this is my personal opinion. You don't have to follow me. I could be all kinds of quackadoodles, you know. Okay, so the bioweapon of mass destruction, the zombie apocalypse, is upon you. They've already released it. There's a gentleman online. He made it seem. I think that the Men in Black already got to him. I can't see the screen as much because they did something. I don't know what they do to my screen on here, y'all. I can barely see you. I can kind of see you. They mess up my screen when I'm on here. Anyway, they already released it. There was a gentleman online. We watched this video. He said it was a skit after the fact. He had noted that there was some sort of biting. He's saying it's a skit, y'all. I actually think that they got to him because he changed his story after the fact. He said he was at a Walmart across the street. He went inside. There was I think it was a man who bit a woman, if I'm not mistaken, or vice versa. And it was a big deal. They shut it down. And then the woman, whoever got bit, went to the hospital and ended up biting people. Okay, they shut down the hospital, CDC, all these places. They had hazmat suits. They covered town. They quarantined the town. And you know what's interesting? He said it's fake. He said it's fake, right? But 2 weeks before he made that video, he had denoted a deer, and he took a picture. I'm going to put the picture of the deer inside of my community so you can see what he took a picture of. Though he's saying it's fake now. Okay, you know, it's just like the Florida mall thing when people, the brown guy who said he had accounts of it and taped it, then after the fact he said it was fake, it was a skit. That gets to them and they threaten their families. That's why they'll retract their stories. Okay, he said that happened in the Walmart. He said it happened. The woman, whoever got bit, went into the hospital, was biting people. They quarantined the town. They closed everything down. He was showing pictures of military coming into the town. But 2 weeks before this, or 3 weeks before this, he found a deer close to his house that had like black on their gut and was displaying signs that he found out were Marburg disease. Are you staying with me? You getting it? Marburg. Okay, now this was in Tennessee. We found out that this was in Tennessee. Now, how did we find that out? Who found that out? It was somebody from the group who found that out, or maybe I found out where he was from. No, it was Tennessee, because he had visited Gainesville, Florida for his 4th of July. That's how I found out. And I found out that he was originally from Tennessee. That's where he had witnessed the deer he took a picture of this deer and he was trying to save it. He said it was moving, but it was wagging its tail, but it was just lying down. And he saw it with these black things on it and had bleeding. And he found out, I guess he went to a vet to see if they could save the deer, you know, and they found out that the deer had Marburg. This is 3 weeks before this man accounts something later. Okay. Now before this, he's not doing skits. He's not doing anything. He's not saying that he's doing skits, but all of a sudden, after he brings up the zombie apocalypse that happened at the Walmart and then at the hospital and that they were surrounding his town, then he recounts his story and says it's a skit and he's making skits about the zombie apocalypse. I just find that very suspicious. Now, maybe it's true he's being fake. I don't know. I don't know people that make that kind of accusation and then after the fact they recant it. Like, you understand? The only people I know who do that are people that are coerced, visited by the Men in Black, or the governmental officials come for them. Okay, but I found it very interesting that was in Tennessee. What I have to say to everybody now is the zombie apocalypse is very real. It's going to be something different than how people actually would perceive it, or it would be presented. Okay, it's not going to be told to us, because in order to allow this to go rogue, you would have to keep it undercover for a while to allow people to be infected back to back to back. That's why this so-called virus that they said that was coming out in certain places, they were saying it affects animals and people alike. That's what lets me know it's geoengineered, because different species aren't able to take in certain viruses. Like, we are very different endocrine wise and otherwise. Why would a virus that affects a deer or other animals affect you? Because you have a different endocrine system, you have different genetics, different types of your DNA receives certain things in ways that animals don't. It just doesn't make sense. The only way that that does happen is if they create something in a laboratory and they geoengineer it to be able to hop from species to species. That's what I know. Okay, so this so-called, and just the fact, I'm sorry, just the fact that they made a coffee, big up to Cherish who shared that image that you guys see. Thank Cherish for that image. She found that that's what I'm saying, they're messing with us, they're gaslighting us by even making a coffee called The Last of Us, which has to do with that fungi movie, the fungi zombie movie. And if you're really thinking that this is fake, this is phony, this can't happen, I want you to really look up, because remember, you don't have to believe me. I could be all kinds of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I could be crazy. You should never believe anyone. You should always do your due diligence to go and vet what someone's sharing with you. So I'll give you an assignment. Go and Google zombie snail, and then do the zombie ant one freaks me out. It's really disgusting. Zombie snail and zombie ants. That lets you know that certain parasites, most people think parasites are only worms or little, like, what you perceive as like worms. But the strongest and most powerful parasite that you will ever see in a laboratory is unicellular, and it is fungi based. Fungi is it's unconsciously conscious. It is able to overcome something quicker than any sort of insect could ever do. Let's say you deal with it one way and trying to kill it off. It has like its own, I can't explain. It has its own internal database that already has created a anti to whatever is trying to kill it while it's being killed. So it will already direct that, and it almost telepathically, it will talk to the other fungi, and they will all create the antidote before it even dies. Mycelium. Okay. And I also think that all these people who go into distilleries, and I'm going to add this. Big up to Aqua and Steph from my group as well. I got to give props to my homegirls. They let us know in Baltimore. This is also very important. In Baltimore, that there was 25 people that had an overdose at one time in Baltimore. Anybody from Baltimore, Maryland? Anybody Baltimore, Maryland people in here? Okay. Yes, no? Okay. There were 25 people that had an overdose. Now, why is this relative to the apocalypse, the fungi apocalypse? Remember, most people don't realize whenever they want to introduce something to a population, it doesn't always have to be through your food. It does, especially if it's something that passes very easily from person to person. All they have to do is put it in the street drugs. All they have to do is introduce it to the street drugs. And that's how they can pass something. Literally, if you listen to old days like the 80s and 90s, it was also Daryl from our group who mentioned, like, whenever they were about to have an event at a specific place, like they were about to have an event at like maybe like a concert or maybe like a Olympic thing, and they wanted to get rid of a lot of like the homeless or what have you, what they would do is they would kind of release it to they would release it into the homeless population to kill them off right before, so they could clean out a certain place, so they could clean out a certain environment. So like they want to clean up the homeless, they would just disperse something in the community and it would kill them off. And a lot of people are saying, what happened to the homeless in California that disappeared? I actually think that they're in the food supply. I don't even think they just kill them off. I think they don't waste because, you know, they don't want to have, you know, bodies all over. They would put it in the food supply so that you don't know that this has happened. There's no proof. You know what I mean? They just grind down the bones and put the meat in the Burger King, McDonald's, Wendy's, and you would never know where these people went. Okay, Soylent Green, exactly. Okay, and I think the Russian president already said, whether it's a hoax or not, I don't know if it is. Supposedly, he said he knows for a fact that the United States is putting their people in the food supply. He already said that. Okay, so, and don't think you're safe from eating vegetables because they already told you a while ago. What was it? What's his name said that he was going to put, they were going to decompose bodies and take that liquid and put it inside of your soil to use it as fertilizer. So everybody can get it. Okay, so you think that you're safe with that? They'll put it in the soil where you grow all your, you know, your greens, your collard greens, your, you know, your mustard, everything. Okay. So, I don't want to freak you out. And I think maybe I am. That's why I said if you come here and also sea stars, you got to be careful because I've told you about the whole, you know, the, what was it called? The monkeypox diabolicalness. We talked about that before. I'm going to repeat it again. Is that, remember when they said there was an outbreak of monkey balls in the gay community? Or that it was affecting gay men and they would show all these pox on people's faces and it would incentivize them to go and get the cucarachi, another monkey balls, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I told you why they did that. It's because during cucarachis, when everybody was in their house, while they were putting up all these 5G and 10G towers, because I don't think they're 5G. I think they're amplifiers of radionics. I think they knew that they would be attacked by those orbs in the sky. So I think it's also a way to detect when the spaceships or the interdimensional ships come in. Anyway, that's something else. But remember when monkey balls, remember monkeypox, y'all? It was right after the whole so-called, you know, cucarachis, which is COVID, right? Pox came out. A lot of people were home being detoxed, right? They were doing detoxes. They were doing, you know, parasitic cleansing. Everybody was cleaning themselves. Remember I told you about the gay male who made a video talking about he did this whole cleanse, like a parasite cleanse with his homegirls. And after he did his cleanse, he found out that he wasn't gay anymore. He realized that whatever worms he had released, all these worms, and whatever worms were in him were changing his disposition, making him crave having anal sex with other males. I shared that with you before. Once they found out that a lot of males were doing the cleanse and their disposition was changing, because if you go back, I'm going to go back and I'm going to keep you in the loop. Remember the zombie snails and the zombie ants. One thing the parasite does is it will make you do things in accord and allow it to replicate itself in whatever type of biological body is necessary. So if you'll see one of the zombie insects is that they get eaten by a mouse. The mouse is a perfect way to lure a cat. And a cat's gut is how it's able to replicate itself. So it literally will make you crave to do things, and the anal cavity is a very conducive environment for a specific kind of worm, which we found out from this gay male. That is why many of the males are changing their disposition, becoming gay. It's because of the worms in their butts. Okay, so why does this matter? Is because when Willy Wonka found out that you were starting to clear your body of parasites, right? You were cleaning up. A lot of men were cleaning up. They were changing their disposition. What they found out is that once they did the cleanse, they wanted to reinfect them with those worms again. So what did they do? They created a whole scare showing bumps, because, you know, gay men like to take really good care of themselves. It's maybe it's a bit of a judgment, but a lot of gay men I know are very big into their looks. They like to look really good, aesthetically pleasing, and all they had to do is put Progenerate on television, all these men, beautiful men with bumps all over their face, and then say, hey, we got a vaccine for you, and we want all the gay men to come out and get vaccines. And remember, all these gay men went and jumped on the bandwagon because they didn't want to have bumps on their face. And that's how easy it is to make people do things, because you touch on their insecurities or things that they know, they put a lot of emphasis on. And all of them went and got the Cucarachi monkey ball shots. Do you remember that? Do you guys remember that? Same thing with the whole thing with Ozempic. All these women didn't get the Cucarachi shot. They felt good about that, but guess what? They were really insecure about their weight. So what they do? They created a new magical weight loss thing, showed you all these celebrities that you don't even know for a fact are on Ozempic, and what they do? They push Ozempic. That's how easily it is to call people and to make them do what you see. That's what I'm saying. It's, if you're easily mind controlled, if you took the Cucarachi kill shot because they told you so and they gave you all of this wonderful fear mongering information, showing you countdowns of people dying, or telling you we're going to infect your grandparents. You know, if you were so easily cold by social engineering, you were one of those who took one of those. You either took the Cucarachi kill shot, you either took the monkey bowl shot, or you may have taken all three. And then you took the Ozempic, which is another form of infecting you with those fibrous type of fungi spores in your body. Okay? And you just down with the get down. You just very easily, manipulate it. That's why you have to be very careful of the people around you, y'all, because if you have homeboys and homegirls who are so easily cold by social media and by push and so motivated by the algorithm of what's being presented to them online, you need to separate yourself from those people, because those are the people that will throw you on the bus, and those are the people that will shed all over you this spores that they are about to shed after roughly, it'll probably be October, because usually October is when the things start to show up. So they're probably going to shed all over you because they probably took one of the above. Okay? So I'm just letting you know. You call me paranoid, call me whatever, but there was one guy that I challenged because he was really mad at me. I made a video about the butt worms, talking about it makes men gay. I challenged him. He was talking all kinds of smack. He writing me emails talking about I'm a hater. I'm a fat hater. I'm just mad because I can't. I'm a fat slut. I don't know what he called me. He called me a whole bunch of names. Big booby, fat slut, siren. I don't know. He called me names. I was like, okay. I said, okay. So if you think that I'm being judgmental and I'm wrong, and I'm saying that gay people are geoengineered, then prove wrong. Go and do a parasite cleanse. Matter of fact, fast and then do a parasite cleanse, or vice versa. Do it and then you come to me, and you could call me, and I'll accept whatever you say. I said, but definitely, you could vet me out and see if that's wrong. If it's wrong information, you could easily vet me out and say, call me a liar. I remember that was a while ago because he cursed me out for like videos after videos. So finally, when was this? Like, it was before my mom passed. Maybe like a month ago. Maybe like a month. Maybe a little bit more than a month ago. I got an email. It was from another email because he likes to change his name on the email because he doesn't want me to block him. He was like, it was standard. I think he's from New York, or he may be from, he's somewhere East Coast. He was like, BITCH. He was like, I hate to say it. He was like, I'm mad. I cried. He was like, I can't even get my, can I say this online? Well, you know what I'm saying. He said he can't get his D up for a man no more. He was like, I don't want to think it. I can't believe it. He's like, I don't know what I could do with my life. My whole life is ruined. He said that he can't get his penis up for another man anymore. He said he said he thought that everything I said was a lie. He said he's going to wait a while. He said something crazy. It was a whole bunch of stuff, but he said basically he can't get it down with men anymore. Okay. Thank you, True Dude 64. Thank you for my donation. I'm just saying, y'all, you could always vet me out. He was cursing me. He said BITH. He was like, I can't get my up for a man anymore. He was like, that's not, he didn't say it, he wrote it, but I'm just saying it how I think he would say it to me. You know what I mean? I can't do this anymore. He was like, I feel a certain way. I try to go out and I'm just feeling like sick to my stomach when I go out to these places. Yo, what if what your disposition is geoengineered and it is chemically introduced to you through a parasite? You got to ask yourself that question. What if it is? How would you feel if you knew that after vetting something out that the government had created, Willi Wonka had created something that changed your sexual disposition to made you more of something than not? How would you feel at a certain rate? You would feel taken aback. I hope he didn't hurt himself. Because, you know, I'm not trying to make you into something else. I really think that who you love and who you want to love, that's really a personal decision. But you should really be so concerned when you are being influenced by something chemically and it is changing who you would have been had you not interfaced with whatever chemical they're introducing to you. That's all. And I think why we see an uptick in men who are displaying themselves as homosexuals, in my opinion, I think it's bioengineered. I think it's a bioweapon that was created to make men, and remember, men who are straight, virile, who have a lot of testosterone, they tend to be very protective of their women, their children, and their communities. What better way? It's a form of what is it called? Like warfare. It's a form of warfare. You know that, right? When you do things like that. Remember we talked about the gay bombs that they were hitting over in Afghanistan before they even went in to do anything to them? They were throwing gay bombs down. You remember, that's an actual thing. When they actually put things in their waterways that literally change your disposition. Talk about the prisoners. Talk to guys who've been to jail. I've talked to guys who go into jail and said they put something in the Kool-Aid inside of the jails that makes men's penises not work. You think they're not doing this as a form of bioterrorism? You can't have a whole bunch of protective males surrounding their communities, protecting their women and children and their grandmothers and their neighborhoods. You can't have that. In order for you to accept that, you've got to interject yourself into that. You know what I mean? And they've done it in so many ways. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, my thing. Thank you, Golden Flame. Thank you. So I'm just saying, I'm not big up to my whole, the gay men in here yet. No shade. But I'm saying I would vet out because you should feel a certain way. You know what I mean? I always told mothers, I said, if you feel like your son changed his disposition based on the formula you gave him, based on the food, giving him plastic BPA bottles, like I'll go to the store. I don't go to really regular stores, but if I go to a store and I see a mom with little ones, I see them and I see little boys in it and I see her picking up like the little crackers and cookies, and they could be organic, y'all. They got soy in it. Go read everything that's in. They put soy and now they're putting mushrooms and everything. You got to realize this is a form of bioterrorism. They control your food supply. They control what you listen to, what you're exposed to. Now AI, which is a devil. AI, which is controlled by the Satanist sector. We're going to have Ryan on tomorrow. I got to call Ryan, make sure, talk about AI reaching singularity. Thank you, Occult Lectures. I'm just saying, like, you got to realize, like, they've been doing this for a long time. This is not new, but it's amped up. And now with the environment, with us going through to a pole shift, them trying to get rid of as many people possible. You got to look at the Deagle report. How are they going to kill off most of the population in the United States? Did you look at the Georgia Guidestones that they destroyed? So you wouldn't have proof that they were trying to kill you. You know? Hold on, I gotta close my window. I'm getting wet. It's raining. Most men are not even interested in women anymore. I talked about, even socially engineering men to watch sports where men are wearing spandex, where the anal cavity is showing. They're putting their head in between guys' legs with a brown ball saying, hike, hike, hike. I mean, you think that's not socially engineering men to be more homosexual? Most women get killed during Super Bowl season. You don't think that's by chance that they've created an environment that makes women men anti to women? And also you have to realize the porn industry is also meant to destroy men's endocrine system and their virility. Because if you have men masturbating, oh, hold on. Please take the children out of the room. I'm going left. Sorry I didn't give you the warning. Mommies, abuelas, big mom, big sisters, big brothers, please, I'm asking you to take the little ones out of the room. I don't want to go too far. I might have gone too far already. I just remember watching videos and I didn't want, being really happy when some of the Sun Stars and Sea Stars were respectful of us as moms listening. I'll give you a minute. Please put a handy dandy like on the video if you like the shenanigans. Please, it help. I don't know if it'll keep the video up, but it helps, I think. So if you put a like on the video, that's helpful. If you like the content too. Don't put a like if you don't like the content. If you like the things I share and you like me coming on talking about stuff like this, you putting a like kind of gives me that validation. Like, oh, okay, this is a topic they're okay with. They enjoy hearing. Not enjoy, but you appreciate hearing it. Okay? Okay, let me go. So, when you see an environment that is geoengineering men, and you know who gets paid, this whole these girls on OnlyFans. I keep forgetting the name OnlyFans. I remember years ago I was online, and someone said, this is years ago, I guess when OnlyFans was first created. I don't know when it was created, but I think when it was first created, people accused me of being on OnlyFans. They said, oh, I know FleurBrun, you're just on OnlyFans. So I didn't know what it was. And then I was made aware that it was a pornography site, right? Some people saying it's not, but everybody I know, the people that I hear about that are on it, it's all sexual deviancy. So it's a form of pornography. And if you remember, pornography is another form of bioweaponry. It is also meant to distract males and to tire out because semen retention is what keeps men's virility. Like men not constantly overly masturbating, constantly becoming numb to females because they're getting overly stimulated. That's a form of warfare. Whenever a society pushes pornography and makes it easily to obtain, that means they're trying to destroy the males and trying to make sure the males are not any longer interested in females. So by pushing pornography, making it readily available, like on the phones, on the thing, you're taking away a man's incentive to wanting to mate with a female. And then when you're also pushing homosexuality and you're putting worms in the food and making the worm sit in the butthole, that is basically a zombie snail kind of worm that changes the disposition of the males like a gay bomb, you're also taking away from men having healthy virility and being attracted to females to protect them. It is all a form of bioterrorism. It is all a form of biowarfare. And us as women, if you have little ones, little males, I tell the mommies and abuelas, because those are the ones who take care of the boys. You have to stop giving your boys food and water that is not clean. Bottled water is not clean. They get up on everything we do. You're going to have to literally get your own filtration. You have to get your own filtration systems and filter out the water that you give your boys and females and your children and yourselves. But for the boys, you have to clear out your boys. They're putting stuff in the water system, in the waterways. It's crazy. You have to filter out all your water. Bottled water is not safe because they control it. They could tell you it's from the Fiji Mountains. It could be from a toilet bowl. We would never know the difference. How could you verify the difference? You couldn't. Because they say it's something, look at how many things they say is good and healthy for us and see how it's been infiltrated. You have to clear your boys' water, especially your boys. Zero plastic. It doesn't matter if you're giving cans. Cans is lined with plastic. Did you see the guy who did the experiment? It was on one of the Zombies had shared a video. I think it was Daryl. Oh, it was Daryl. One of our Sun Stars, Daryl, shared a video where the guy was burning a can down. And when he was done burning a Coca-Cola can down, you know what was left inside? Plastic. So even the cans, which I don't even believe you getting metal is healthy, the can itself is lined with plastic. They're infiltrating and destroying the males on our planet purposefully as a form of bioweaponry and biowarfare so that they aren't able to be strong enough and virile enough to be able to be healthy enough to protect their environments, to protect themselves. Like, it's not even about protecting the females in their life. They're not even able to protect themselves. They're being attacked. To be honest, if I talked about who's being attacked first, it's all the males. Toxic masculinity, that was a geoengineered terminology to vilify healthy, strong males who have strong mindset. Men are not meant to be communicative. They're not meant to act like females. We're very different. The way we think is very different. A healthy male is not a female. He's not meant to be chatty. Like you see all these males online, chatty patties, that's very female. They probably have a lot of estrogen in their diet. And I talked about the fact that all of your chicken of mass destruction, which so many people cursed me out years ago. Oh, everything's wrong, FleurBrun. You're a fatty. How could you? Listen, chicken isn't something that you should be eating, especially if you're not getting it from a farm where you are aware of what those chickens are eating. If they're eating, most chickens that you buy in the grocery stores are being fed soy. It's one of the reasons I told you need to get soy-free eggs. You see how much soy-free eggs cost in the store? There's a reason for that. If you're giving your little boys or you're feeding your husband eggs, you are destroying his testosterone. You're destroying his virility. If you sit there and let him watch sports, engage in sports, you are destroying his connectivity to himself as a male, as a healthy male of your family. We have to watch our males. If you have a husband, stop giving him eggs in the rising. If you do duck eggs, do quail eggs, do things that you know that may not be feeding them soy. A lot of your meats and everything are being fed soy, chicken, eggs, and so on soy. The beans, things in cans are all soy based. You have to clean off everything. You have to get rid of the spores on your food. It is very serious, y'all. If you want to have some form of healthy males on this planet, you're going to have to take that. That's why I said when I was going to create my male, beautiful, royal society of males to help build an army. I'm not going to do this anymore. That's what I was really craving. Healthy males. So I feel like, why am I going to beg for healthy males? I could just create them. I was going to have a whole area so I could clean them out, make them fast, feed them only healthy foods that will build their virility, make them very healthy consciously. That's what we have to do. So mamas who have boys, hello, we have to do that. Okay? So that's just my thing about males. I don't want to go too deep on it because I know that it bothers you. When I get in, the males get a little sensitive to it. I love males. Let me just say this, even though you call me a lesbian every day. I say that because I don't know why you call me that. And there's nothing wrong with lesbians. I love males. I love to engage with males. I love healthy males. I like to meet with males. I love males. I have really beautiful brothers, and my father is amazing. I'm a daddy's girl. So I love males, and I've been surrounded by really healthy, gratefully healthy males. I really have. My father, my brothers, very sweet, loving, protective males. They give their life to protecting us and making sure we're safe, gratefully. Okay, so when you call me things like that and say that as if I don't know what healthy males are, I was raised by a beautiful man. It's why I can be so sweet. Why I have such good high ideals for males in a very healthy and balanced way is because I had such a beautiful father. Many of you know this. Some of you from Mount Vernon already know. You met him. Like everyone loves my dad. Like everyone loved my dad. And my brothers have such beautiful high integrity. I grew up with that. So I'm not talking from the back of the room. I'm talking from the front of the room. Healthy males are necessary. If they're destroyed, I actually think they're attacking males more than females. They're attacking males in order to get to the females and the children. And if we had a healthy, that's why I was giving big up to Ireland. And I think because Ireland still has healthier food, Europe in itself, Africa as well, because they have healthier food, the food is not being infiltrated as much. That's why the males are showing up properly in those countries, like those arenas, like in Europe and also in Africa and those continents, because the men aren't being as attacked adrenal-wise and hormonal-wise. So they're still showing up strong. Like if you go to like a Nigerian village or places where Nigerian men are, those men are still very strong and very virile and very, that's why if you notice all those places where the males are in those countries, those are the ones who go out, you see them go out and fight with nothing. Even if they don't have weapons, they'll go out with sticks, stones, they'll go out with spears. You know what I'm saying? Same thing when you go into Ireland. Why I respect Ireland so much and I give you so much props to them, because I watch what they do. I watch when they don't like when their government does something. All the males come out. They come out of the house together in unison. When is the last time you've seen the United States do that? That's to let you know how much they infiltrated our males. When is the last time you've seen a whole bunch of men come out in the droves, collectively, doesn't matter what, as Americans, it don't matter if they're brown Americans, Italian Americans, it don't matter. When is the last time you've seen them come out in the droves as a collective saying, no, mother freakers, you ain't messing with us or our women or our families? You haven't seen that because they've infiltrated the United States males more so than anyone, because those are the ones they fear the most. You males in the United States, they actually fear you the most because you have the most consciousness. So they attack you the most. But when you go to places like, you see what's happening in Ghana, in Nigeria, and Kenya, you see what happens in South Africa, the men come out. You see it happen in France. Remember when they put a whole bunch of poop on the governmental buildings, or a whole bunch of men, the farmers came and they came together and they put poop on the governmental buildings because they said you're full of ish. They came together. How come it's not happening in the United States? Okay. You gotta ask yourself that question. Because if we were a healthy environment, it would show up with our males. And one of the ways that they'll easily take over environment, they'll destroy the male first. Okay. So let's go back to the zombies. The zombie apocalypse. Okay. The zombie apocalypse is on and popping. Okay. That. Oh, you said the Million Man March. They probably sprayed a whole bunch of estrogen on them. You can't announce things like that. Even the Muslims, like from even the 5%ers and the Nation of Islam, know that. They won't collectively meet out and give you an announcement that they're coming out there. Because remember, Willy Wonka, they're diabolical. They've already sprayed the area probably with estrogen, a bioweapon that gets you sick. You think it's a cold and it takes like half the men out. You can't announce something like that. It would have to be instantaneous. It would have to be something that is initiated like naturally, and they would just do it as a, like, without pronouncing or announcing it. You can't announce things like that. Oh, we're going to meet up for what happened after the Million Man March? Did you see communities of women and men becoming better? Did you see things being sustained and healthy and starting to be conducive with brown women and men? What came of that? What happened to that? Okay? How did that help the unity between brown men and brown women and their families? Anytime you see a healthiness of brown women and brown men, they will destroy it. Look what they did to Malachi Z. York's foundation. Look what they did to Black Wall Street. Look what they do to the brown farmers, like in Minneapolis, the brown farmers that are over in Colorado. So that's one collective. Look what they did to Haiti. Every time Haiti gets itself up out of its situation, look what they do. They send in more ops. They'll send in American mercenaries and Colombian mercenaries to go kill their prime minister and then try to take over the government. Look what they're doing over in Gaza. Look what they're doing in South Africa and the Congo. Look what they're doing in Yemen. You know, the real bloodline of the Israelites is in Yemen. They're decimating the area. But when is the last time you heard about it? You'll hear Gaza, and it's wrong what they're doing in Gaza. Absolutely. It's horrific. And they're able to do it. There's no consequence. The West Bank and all that stuff, that's crazy over there. But you hear only that aspect, but you're not hearing what's going on over in the Congo, over in Yemen, over in Sudan. How come you're not hearing about any of that? Because they want you to project, only focus on one. That's why they control what you put your attention on. That's why you have to use your higher mind and stop eating things that are destroying your first brain, which is in your gut. Your gut is where your brain is. That's where your consciousness sits. So when they're able to infiltrate your gut, that's how they're able to control what you put focus on. Okay? And that's why all of social media is being controlled. Anything that's being pushed or people have had high count of subscribers, those are channels that are being pushed because they uphold the system. Whether they're doing it or not purposefully, it doesn't matter. It just means they're being pushed because they uphold the whatever the social engineering, whatever the goal is of this, you know. Okay? So, you know, parasites, and be careful too, because now they're pushing Ivermectin, which before they were rejecting because we knew that in the cucaracha shot, one of the components was a worm. You know, my opinion, probably a mold too, or fungi or type of spore. Okay, we knew that. But now they're pushing it because guess what it does? It destroys males' endocrine systems. So now the very very thing they told you not to take. Now they're promoting it because they want you to take it so you can destroy the virility in men. So it messes with men's ability to be able to produce healthy sperm. Isn't that crazy? It's like, that's why you have to be up on it. It's like you got to be a master surfer. Like, you got to go in and out of tunnels. You got to be able to go over the wave, under the wave. You got to be able to master everything, because they'll switch it up in you real quick. Whenever they see you going in one direction, they'll already infiltrate it so that they got that taken over. Okay? But now when we talk about the fungus, like now it's raining here. This is a perfect environment to host and to make a perfect Petri dish for amplifying fungi. Okay? For making fungi superly duperly happy. This is a mushroom-filled world right now with all the moisture and the humidity all over the planet. This is a perfect environment for mushrooms to grow inside of people's bodies. And my opinion, based on actually absolutely what Rudolph of Germany shared with us, is that they've already dispersed the bioweapon, fungi bioweapon, and this is basically the petri dish of conditioning and ingredients necessary to make it amplifying the body. So we might start seeing zombies showing up right now. It might most likely in animals, because the animals don't have, especially if they're outdoors all the time, like the guy with the deer, you might start seeing it in animals. So be careful, like hold on, be careful with your dogs and stuff outside, the cats. A lot of the animals are migrating out of Yellowstone because it's about to blow, you know, and maybe that's all a psyop too, to make you look in one direction, meanwhile it's going to happen in another direction. Just be very flexible right now. In order for us to make it through this holographic video game with everything intact, we would have to be hyper self-aware and always be willing to change a mindset when some new information comes that is better and more appropriate for the time. You hear the rain? Now this might be geoengineered. Oh wow. Ooh, it's pouring. Hold on. Let me close my window. You hear that? How appropriate. Now, could this be geoengineered because I'm making a video about funguses and making it rain? You see how it's raining? Okay. Look at that. Maybe it's making me so I don't go get another coffee. Oh, thank you. Thank you, 1313. Let me see what you said. Hold on. Oh. Hey, lovely. It's been a minute. Just want to say you're on fire today. Keep shining. Thank you. Hey, Vicky girl. Hey, Vicky. Thank you, my love. I appreciate it. I miss you. I haven't talked to you in a minute. Yeah, it's getting crazy out here. So I don't know. I just want to go back to what I'm saying. They have already begun the zombie apocalypse, y'all. It is a fungi-based zombie apocalypse. It is a pandemic 2.0, and it is the real deal. The dress rehearsal's over. They found out what makes people pop, what makes people do certain things. They're geoengineering the conditioning that makes everyone appropriate for their bioweapon. And also, you know, I got to give a shout out to Dr. Rima Legba. Is it Dr. Legba? Oh God, is it? I think it's Rima. I love her. That's the one who talked about that she had Clinton, Miss Clinton. Well, perceivably, she didn't say Clinton. We just assumed that it was Hillary in her office, upstate New York. Big up to my New Yorkers. And she said that, you know, this woman was bragging on the fact that they were going to bring a bioweapon and that it would be a nasal mist and how they would institute it. And it was interesting because she said that years ago. Remember, she was on Jesse Ventura. You can look at this episode, y'all. Don't believe anything I say. Go look at the episode, Jesse Ventura's show, when he was doing all the conspiracy stuff, and it was Alex Jones. And remember, Dr. Rima flew up from Panama. This is when her husband was still living. They killed her husband. She talked about that. And she flew in and said they were planning to do a pandemic where they were going to give people nasal mist as the remedy to the so-called, virus that was going around, and that would be the way that they were going to infiltrate people. I actually think she was absolutely correct, but I don't think they did it the first round. I think they're going to do it this round because they knew people would be sensitive to having vaccines put in their bloodstream, and that's why I say it was a beta test. was a dress rehearsal, because what they'll do is they'll push something, and also they'll have controlled opposition to say, oh, nobody wants shots. Oh, just like they'll push it, they'll have an opposite end who say, oh, nobody wants shots. And then when they have another virus that people are dying from, all they got to do is say, well, we're not going to give you shots this time. We know how you feel against that, and we're very sensitive. We'll just do a nasal mist. What matters about the nasal mist? Because where does it go? It goes straight up to the brain. Okay? And that's the one that causes brain inflammation. This one is a zombie. Look at The Last of Us. Actually, I'm going to go back to the house and watch The Last of Us, because I kind of missed a couple episodes. I just didn't like the acting too much initially. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and check out The Last of Us. Today is perfect time before we do a Zoom tonight. Biggest to those who are joining Zoom tonight. There's so much to discuss. There's so much happening. And them closing down borders is them controlling the spread. They want, whenever they do a bioweapon, and this is the same in a laboratory. I'll say this: you want to control how things move, because everyone eats differently. Your exposure to certain things is different. The way that you genealogy matters. Okay, so I think why they're controlling people's movement is kind of like how I want to control my control, like a control group. I want to control how things are expressed and how they're exposed. So they're going to push like planes crashing. Do you know, if a plane crashes, there's more car crashes than there are plane crashes. There are thousands of planes that take off every day. And out of those thousands of planes, if one or two crash, that's like nothing. When you see millions of people driving every day and there's hundreds and thousands of people crashing, that's a higher percentage. It is less likely for you to crash in a plane than it is for you in a car. So them nitpicking certain crashes and sharing it with you, even though you don't even live in the country, you're not living in that city, and them showing you fights on the flights, that is them socially engineering you to feel uncomfortable traveling. They certainly don't want you going to countries where they have a healthier food disposition, because they have more autonomous food, meaning the food is being grown independently without infiltration from the government or federal government. Okay, places that chemtrails aren't happening, which definitely is happening in the United States, but it doesn't happen everywhere. Like, not all places in Mexico have chemtrails. Now, obviously, Brazil. I've only seen chemtrails probably more so in Sao Paulo, but that's once in a blue. But in Brazil, I don't see. In Colombia, I saw 0 chemtrails in Colombia. Over in Medellin, I saw 0 chemtrails. I was over in Santa Helena. I didn't see chemtrails. Peru, I didn't see chemtrails. Argentina, I didn't see chemtrails. Chile, I didn't see chemtrails. So remember, they want you to stay, especially United States, which has the rights to hold arms. You're much more conscious because this is Egypt. United States is Egypt. It is ancient Kemet. It is ancient Babylon. Okay. The consciousness that is initiated in the United States is unlike anywhere else. So those are the people that they're hyper focused on, controlling, destroying, and trying to get rid of. Okay. So they need them to stay where they're at. Okay, you can't have a whole bunch of Americans. That's why they're messing with your money too. They're trying to make you go to crypto so the government can just shut off your ability to have access to your money. That's why I told all of you a while ago, get your cash, buy something cash, try to buy it outside the country or independently, so they have a way to incept you. So even if they shut down money, you still growing your food, you still have maybe fresh eggs, you down with the farmers around you, you guys do exchange. They can only control you if you need something from them. And they make you hyper dependent on them. That's what the whole smart cities are about. That's what welfare was for. Because if you always need them to produce money and food for your family, they have control over you. If you got to go to them to get your food, your housing, you're going to do whatever they want you to do, even if you don't want to. But if your house and your land is paid for, and that's why I don't believe in the United States, because that's why they do the taxes every year, because they want to make you constantly have to have money source. That's purposefully done. Real estate tax is a setup to make sure that even if you pay everything off, if you ever get sick, if someone stops paying anything, they can take your land again. So it always puts you in a constant state of having to produce more income to sustain yourself. If you go to other countries and you buy a land property, they're not checking for you for your taxes like that. You could have land for 50, 100 years and they're not coming to you to take your land or your house because you didn't pay taxes. Okay? That's in the United Fakes. Okay? That's why it's good for you to have your own independent source of housing and be able to be autonomous food wise. Many of you don't realize you don't eat a lot of different variations of food. You generally eat the same thing. If you like chicken and mass destruction, why don't you raise chickens? I don't agree with raising your food like that, but I mean, people do it. Why don't you raise your own chickens? Control that narrative in your life. The eggs that come from your house, you control that. If you want milk, you can have cows or you can have goats, or whatever, sheep. You can control that. It's very difficult for your government or your Willy Wonka to control everything. If you had a well and you filtering out your well, you can control the way the water comes in your house. If you're collecting, I don't know if I wouldn't collect rain if you're living in a bioterrorist world where they're shooting chemtrails on you. But I'm just saying, do you understand what I'm saying? Everyone in here, we are just as responsible for what's happening to us because we are participating with these sociopathic psychopaths. They are not us. They're not even, a lot of them are not even human. They're not even real. Okay? And because you know this, every time we participate with them, we're giving them access to us. You send them to school, your children to school, you're giving your children to them to socially engineer their minds. When you go into the grocery store, you are participating in their bioweaponry products that are meant to destroy your endocrine system, your hormonal. Women should be getting their menstruation until they nearly die or they're sick. The fact that women are stopping menstruation at a specific time frame, that lets you know that you are being controlled by some form of outside perimeters that is making you stop your reproduction. Children that come from women that are more seasoned are smarter because they have more cellular memories that are in the stockpile of that mother's genealogy. Those are your little geniuses, because now the mother's not young in her mind. She's accrued knowledge and wisdom. And when that child is born from that cellular component, that child is smarter, brighter, and more conscious. They don't want women having children after age 40 and 50, because then you have little geniuses that are able to overcome things based on the mother having that stockpile of wisdom in her genealogy. You should be getting your menses well into your 70s. Okay? That is purposefully done. If you go into other countries where the food isn't being infiltrated, you just look at them. I'm not saying you have to have babies that long. I'm just saying you should be able to menstruate for that long. And menstruation is not necessarily a natural byproduct. It's a byproduct of that toad moon, but that's how we reproduce right now. Okay? So the fact that you stop menstruating at a specific time, that's because they're doing it to you. It's funny to me because that's the time frame that I told you that they'll tell you to go get your mammogram. You don't think that's odd? These psychopathic, crazy people will tell you to go get a mammogram at that same time, and then all of a sudden, oh, your period stops. Why? Maybe it's the bout of radiation that's really close to your fallopian tubes, even though it's on the breast, right? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Don't listen to me. I'm quite I'm a liar. Don't listen to a crazy person like me, okay? Don't listen to us. Don't listen to me, okay? The apocalypse is here. The virus is already spreading. It's going to be coded as different things. Use your awareness. And this one hops. This one is a hoppy one, meaning that it spreads a lot easier. Now, I'm not specifically sure how this virus is going to spread. It might be how the shedding was with cucarachas. I just think it might be more in, it might hop with, maybe it may be aerial. I'm not sure. Because of the moisture and everything, the spores, it could be aerial wise. White vinegar is necessary. Baking soda on deck. Try to keep your waters clean, okay? Be careful of water coming in pipes because of how it could be infiltrated with new bioweaponry that's actually in the waterways, okay? Making sure that you get enough vitamin D, because one of the things that gets rid of, my opinion, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, I'm not anybody, I'm a little quack. It's just, I think vitamin D is necessary because one of the things that mushrooms don't like is high amount of sunlight. Look at places where people are exposed closer to the equator, where they're exposed to a lot of sun. How many times do you hear them cancer being an issue there, or osteoporosis? You let me know. Our African diaspora, how many people who are closer to the sun, to the equator, that higher amounts of exposure to sun? Remember what they did to our Australian family, y'all? Do you remember? Because that's how I know. I pay attention to the things that most people wouldn't pay attention to. Do you remember what they did to our Australian family who have a lot of exposure to sun? Look at the amazing Aboriginal people with that beautiful cosmic skin, dark skin. What did they do to our Australian people at the beginning of Cucarachis? What did they do? Because we don't even have one of our sun stars online anymore, which was the Crow House. He was one of the whistleblowers from Australia because they basically infiltrated Australia to, like, you want to talk about control? What they did to Australia is horrific. How they control them, how they demonize them, how they vilify them, how they are controlling what they're able to share with you, and basically imprisoning them if they say anything against what the agenda was. They locked them up in the house for a long... You remember the lockdowns? The initial people who got locked down were all in Australia. The place with the most amount of sunlight and exposure. They were locked down in their houses. If that's not proof enough that sunlight was one of the remedies to some of these type of fungus, bacteria, whatever it is, that lets you know that that was one of the things they knew that was a component that would deactivate whatever they were trying to initiate, was sunlight. You know what I mean? So that in itself, I think people need to pay attention to. I want to give a shout out to our Australian family. You don't hear from them as often, and they can't say things online. Don't think it's not there. They're not there. They aren't allowed to say anything online, y'all. They aren't. They're being vilified, and I think we should send a lot of positive energy to our family abroad, because a lot of them that are fighters, that were good in for it, they were really strong, they really, really try to destroy their voices. Australia was one of them, okay? So really send some amazing positive energy to our Australian family. I just really feel like some of them you'll see on BitChute, but they can't talk out of Australia. I think some of them have left already. So did someone say Max Egan is over in Mexico? That's the only way you're going to be able to talk is because you would have had left the country. Okay? And free speech is zero in America anymore, in the United States. If you think you're living in a place with free speech, you are quite mistaken. You are very disturbed. The fact that you could say certain things is just by the fact that they'll let you. But if you saw my last live, how quick they send those bots into my live stream, that lets you know that they are all on us. They will send the viruses, the Smithitarians, mass destruction to come and try to destroy your message. What is the key here? Because let's talk about the positive things that we can do. We talk about what they're doing. The apocalypse, the zombie apocalypse is upon you as we speak. We can only find out more as soon as we do our investigation. So you will hear when we find out exactly how it spreads. We don't know yet. Okay, I can't say. Okay, but what I will say this is that one of the ways, thank you, my love. Thank you, Sly Bay. Thank you, Bay. Thank you. I appreciate it. One of the ways I know for a fact is mindset. Got to keep your mind lifted. Watch comedies, watch love shows, make love to your partner, have happy dinners, have picnics in the house, go for walks, commune with nature. The trees are very healing and very loving and very forgiving of us. That is key, because one of the ways that they're able to infiltrate, my mother just crossed, she just transitioned almost 3 weeks ago, right? I was heartbroken, still am. But I know in order for me to be here and to try to be as healthy as possible, I have to lift myself up. For my children, for my family, for my mom. I have to. It's very difficult, but I have to do it. You have to keep your spirits up. And when I say it seems so corny or something, that's what's going to help. You ever see people in hospice situations? They say the ones who usually make it are the ones who's so high in vibration. They want to be here. They have high hopes. Okay? High ho, high ho, high hopes. That's all the way we go. Remember the seven dwarfs? High hope, high hope, high hope. I say it's high hopes. High hope, high hope, high hope. Okay? High hopes. Doesn't mean I don't cry. Doesn't mean I'm sad. I have moments. Like yesterday was a little bit of. I had a couple moments. I had to shake it off. You know what I mean? And then lift out of it. Okay. Another thing, autonomy, y'all. Please listen to me. If you listen to nothing else I say, become very clean with your food. Eat less if you can't really verify it. Eat less. Oh, thank you, Sometime Vegan. Thank you for everything, FleurBrun. Thank you, my love. Thank you for the donation. Thank you. Um, verify your food. I'm not saying you can't eat, no, but if you have farmers around you with a lot of integrity, your integrity farmers. If you have places that you can grow your food, grow as much as you can, and then raise what you can. Try to become autonomous. And just say if you live in an apartment, I have a girlfriend. Big up, she was on here. She used to be on YouTube all the time. She had chickens up in the house in her apartment. Don't play games. I mean, as long as there's no laws and regulations. She had it. They're so cute too. Chickens are very smart, and not to eat, but just for eggs. She had eggs. I'm just saying, there isn't anything that can limit you. If you limit your mind, you're going to limit your aspects of what can clear you. Okay. Have things that you could feed yourself. Like, you don't eat a lot of things. Some of you just like certain things. Like, some people like carrots, they like potatoes, and they like certain kind of greens, but they don't eat anything else. Like, some of us like asparagus. I like asparagus. I definitely like okra. If those aren't things you can grow, you can look for places that are farm friendly to go there. If it's very unaffordable, then you limit what you eat until you can eat what you can, what's healthy. You got a hamburger helper, all the beef sources. If your meat is red in a grocery store, they sprayed it with that stuff to make it red. If you've ever gone to a farm and a butcher, the meat is brown. It turns brown as soon as it oxidizes. Okay, so I've gone to places with integrity places where they they kill one cow. That cow is the one they slay for that 1 month, and everybody takes it. The meat is brown, and they close it and seal it, and it's fresh. So please, if you're looking at red meat in grocery stores, it's because they sprayed it. That is unnatural. It doesn't occur like that. And that's them giving you they're psyoping you visually to make you think that that's fresh. Okay? Okay, the eggs in most grocery stores are way over a couple weeks old, where you can go to a farmer or grow it or have eggs in the house yourself that are laid that day or that week. Okay? Eggs is one of the things why they put them off the shelf, is because they knew that eggs had a specific component that was anti to something they were trying to introduce. That's why I think it was an egg crisis. Whenever there's something that's helpful and it's against something bioweapon that they're introducing, they'll take it off the shelf and they'll vilify it. Okay? There isn't any sunlight. This is my opinion. I could be crazy. You could vet me out. But one of the things you have to do is make sure you get the vitamin D. And if your stomach and your gut is not helping because you've eaten food that it's destroyed your microbes in your gut, you might have to do it on the surface of your skin and use things dermally. Dermally is much more efficient because your skin absorbs most things. It's the largest organ in your body. Okay. So dermally might be the case. Okay. Having sex with diabolical people with worms in their butts. It's not only gay men that have worms in their butt or in their, a lot of men carry worms because that's the way their system works and their sperm. So women, a lot of times with fibroids and all that stuff, I'm sorry, I don't want to gross you out, but I personally think a man that hasn't cleansed himself and doesn't do parasite cleansing, that could be a form of parasite that's infecting women, causing fibroids. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, I could be wrong, but I'm just saying I think it could be because a lot of women I know that have fibroids is because, and they usually have sex with some of these men, and a lot of these men could be passed on, not even knowing it. It's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I'm not a doctor. We could ask the doctors in here. Okay. So I would be careful having sex with men without, and I don't believe in protection the way you do, but I wouldn't have sex with men, especially if they're not cleansing themselves regularly. If you want to have sex with a man, you need to do a parasite cleanse with himself and you. And you have to make sure that he's only sleeping with you, because if he's sleeping with you and then someone else on weekends, he's reinfecting himself, because most likely the female he's sleeping with isn't cleansing herself, and she could be sleeping with another male. Okay. Smarter males tend to be very specific about the females they engage with, and they tend to be very healthy. Men who have lack of self-restraint, that's a sign that he's lower consciously, and it means that he has a need to fill something, a void maybe from his mother's lack of hugs and kisses, or a lack of a female figure that he respected. Okay. I know healthy males, and I've seen it with my brothers. They got a lot of love from my mom and my aunties, and those males tend to be very one female based. They love one female, they love on her, they want to be with her, and they have that designated kind of relationship. So I'm just saying, like, I would just be careful with that. Okay, if you have a female that like a lot of males, I don't want to just put it on males, because I notice our environment right now with a lot of our young sea stars, they're very sexually um they hungry. Can I say that? Hungry. um Females have a high sexual libido too. I think most males don't know that because maybe we don't share it with you. I don't know if I'm letting the cat out of the bag. I think women have a higher sexual libido, especially if they're healthy, than males. And if she's non-designated and you haven't given her a verified relationship, she's most likely sleeping with other males, and she's infecting herself with other men's semen. And we talked about, women that sleep with multiple men and are exposed to different semen. By the time you have a child with her, those men's semen are inputting their DNA inside of her offspring, which is a negative for her, but it might be negative for you. So women, we just, whatever is needed for that baby to be healthier. She may need to take the DNA from Stan because maybe he was better aptitude wise. Then she may take a sperm, a little bit of DNA from Steven, because Steven was maybe a musician, and it's appropriate for this baby. Maybe she also takes Tyrone's semen because it has more virility, more strength. So I'm just saying, women are a petri dish if they've slept with a lot of men with a lot of DNA. If you want a woman that's more designated, you have to be more committal, because women won't just sleep with you anymore. Like our generation, we would have slept with you regardless and just been with you. Our young sea stars have kind of seen their aunties and their mothers being disrespected, and men sleeping around. So now our young sea stars aren't as designated. If you don't give them a relationship that they feel they're safe in, and they feel like you're designating them solely, they will sleep with other males and you won't know it, because women are smarter and they tend to be more coy. And because they know that they can die, because men will kill women if they sleep with other men. So I'm just saying, for you sun stars, you have to understand that you are responsible. A woman that's very healthy, she will give you her love solely to just you if you basically give her that safety net of knowing that you were committed to just her alone. If you aren't doing that, and I don't care what males in here saying, oh, I slay her, she ain't sleeping. 90% of our young sea stars are sleeping with other males if you've not designated to her. If you're sleeping with other women, she is sleeping with other men. I'm sorry to mess with your ego. And a lot of you don't even know it because she's smarter. But if you aren't able to do it, you can't ask what you can't give. Okay, so I don't want, it's kind of horrible that I say that, because a lot of men are in denial. They think that because they're the man, they're sleeping with multiple women, they have all these women at hand, that their women are just staying at home. It's not our younger generation. Our young women have learned from their mothers and aunties, and seeing them get hurt and disappointed, and having men that weren't loyal. They don't have loyalty to you if you don't have loyalty to them. So if you want to be with a young woman that's designated to you and she doesn't have multiple men's sperm to create your offspring later, you have to give her a commitment, and you have to be righteous, and you have to have some integrity and some self-restraint. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. That's just a little woman of a seasoned mindset suggestion. You could do what you want, because you're gonna do it anyway. But I think a lot of young men are really confused, and they're very in denial. They really think that they can do whatever they want and there's no consequence. There's a consequence with your genealogy and having children later on that are not just yours. Okay? If you want women that are more committed, you have to be more committed. You can't ask what you can't give. Okay? That's just my mindset. Okay? And as far as the worms and the parasites, I would be concerned about sleeping with men. We don't know how this parasite can be shared, and if this type of parasite can literally go in through the wand's sperm, or a woman's her vaginal excretion. We don't know how this virus is going to spread. We have to find that out. Usually we find out. I'm really good with this, so I'm on it, but I can't find that out until enough of this virus is spread and we start to see it in people and we see how they've interfaced. We can't know. So I would be careful sleeping with any male or female that is unvetted, meaning that you can't vet her out, because you're not designated. She's not going to be designated. Or a man, he's not designated to you. I wouldn't trust him. Okay. Because a man that's a dog on the street, just sleeping with anything. First of all, I don't know why you would want to be with a man who has community wand. His wand is no longer viable. Actually, a man who sleeps with multiple women, that's a man is low vibrational, and probably somebody who's got multiple sexual transmitted demons on him too, spiritually, like all these kind of cords on him. You wouldn't want to mess with that anyway, sea stars. So I'm just saying, so can I ask you a question? But what if a man is not monogamous? You shouldn't be with him. This is in the environment to be non-monogamous. Remember, we have times where we are allowed to have free love, free reign. But then there's times when you have to pull in and be with people that are more purposefully based. Okay? If he's non-monogamous, nor is she, I wouldn't touch him. I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole, because it probably infected with not only just parasites in the butt or in sperm or in her vajayjay. Most likely they have spiritual infestation too. Men that are non-designated, because a lot of women are doing spell work out here. They don't even know, that means that he's got a lot of spiritually transmitted demons on him too. STDs, spiritually transmitted demons on him. He's got attachments on him. His auric field is dirty because he's not designated. It's like a man who just eats everything. You know what I mean? If you go out with a man and he eats everything, he doesn't have a healthy diet, sexual diet matters as well. You shouldn't mess with him. You shouldn't touch him. He should actually be ostracized because he's infected with all kinds of viruses and spiritual and otherwise. He should be and also you should tell the other women not to mess with them because they're going to infect themselves. Again, I actually think that a lot of the fibroids, the womb issues has to do with sleeping with dirty men that are non-designated, just they have dirty sperm. And dirty sperm can make you sick. So, would you want to sleep with a man that eats hamburger helpers and Burger King every day and fried chicken? Would you want to sleep with him? If you wouldn't want to sleep with a man that eats unwell, you wouldn't want to sleep with a man that does the same sexually. Okay, and same with a woman. Would you want to be with a woman that gives her yoni to every man, that, gives her a compliment? Would you want to sleep with a woman that has multiple men calling her and she's, she's receptive to male company whenever she's bored? You wouldn't want to touch her either, because that means also her yoni. That means she's taking in a lot of different semen and she's holding a lot of DNA in her womb. And when you decide to settle down with her, which may be too late, you're going to have other men's babies. Okay. So you're going to have a baby with a woman who has multiple semen inside of her implanted with their DNA. So by the time you have a child with her, you've got Tom's baby, Tim's baby, Tyrone's baby, Jack's baby, Kirk's baby, everybody's babies inside of your baby. Now you have a baby with multiple men's DNA implanted in your child. That's why men used to like virgins back in the days. It was much more about alchemy than I'm talking about when people knew. I'm not talking about just a woman. It's just alchemy matters. Okay. And for sea stars, you should be mindful of the men you sleep with, because any kind of encryption in his DNA, like he has a lack of self-restraint. He's impulsive. He has addiction problems. He has skin issues. He has bad eyes. His smell is really funky. You're allowing that to be imprinted in the DNA of your children in the future. If there are too many things that are wrong with him genetically, you shouldn't even let him stick his wand inside of you. That shouldn't even be an option. If his eyesight is bad and you got bad eyesight, why are you sleeping with a man with bad eyesight? Is that something you want inside your children in the future? If he's not very smart, if he didn't do well, like he has low aptitude, why would you want to imprint that in your womb to show up in your future children? So women, I'm just talking to you. You may want to sleep with men, but I would make sure you sleep with the most masterful and the best specimens you can have. Oh, thank you, my love. Oh, thank you, sunshine. Okay, that's just this is judgment. I'm a woman of a certain age. I'm big into genetics, and I see too many people giving birth to children that have issues because you weren't self-aware. And for men and women, it's very different how we show up genetically. But for women, you having sex with a maniac and him having, if he's a murderer, you're giving his karma. You're giving karma to your children. So if you get with a man that's killed multiple men, you're giving that child the karma of your father. Remember they say the children accrue the karma of their fathers? That's what you're doing. So you wouldn't want to be with a man that goes around shooting people or selling drugs, because now you're going to have that as karmic debt that the child that is birthed through your womb will take on. Okay? You want a clean daddy. You want somebody who comes from a clean gene pool. If you get with a colonizer, like somebody over in the Middle East who's going around killing children, shooting children in the head, having sex with prisoners, harvesting organs, you have sex with a man like that, that's the kind of child you will have access to, you'll give birth to. So it's very much so, it matters who you sleep with. Just be mindful. And you didn't know better, now you know better. So if you had sex with a maniac and he's a psychopath, try to make sure that whoever you choose is quite the opposite right now, and keep that as an option for you so that you can kind of overcome some of that psychopathic sperm that's embedded itself in in the genealogy that you're hosting. Okay? Oh, you saw me on a flight, Just B? Where'd you see me on a flight? Let's see. Did you see me on a flight? When did you see me on a flight? Which flight? Perhaps you did, perhaps you didn't. Okay. All right, so that's all. So I don't know if the zombie apocalypse is going to be in the sperm, y'all. Australia's in the house. Hey, Australia. On a Delta flight going where? Where was I coming from? Where was I going to? What airport? Okay. That's all I want to share today. I don't want to go too far. I think I kind of went all over the place. I don't want to. Sometimes I just give you a lot of information. It's random sometimes. Sometimes you can receive it. If other stuff that you don't like, you could just throw it out. You know what I'm saying? I have a lot of weird information in my mind. So sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's relative, sometimes it isn't. You know what I mean? I just give it to you how I do. Okay? How do you get rid of parasites? You just do a parasite cleanse. There's so many different parasite cleanses. You can do a host of parasite cleanses. You could do basic parasite. It depends on what kind of parasite. If it's fungus, mold, there's a lot. You could look online. There's a lot of different cleanses. A lot of great people who kind of give different suggestions on what you could cleanse from, how you cleanse. Okay. But again, with the zombie apocalypse, I don't know how it's spread. I don't know initially. I know when they go and give the remedy, I know that's how this definitely going to spread. But how it initially shows up, I can't tell you. I gotta see. I gotta get the information. I know a lot of people, a lot of places, but I gotta see how it shows up, and they're gonna hide the names. They're gonna make the names into different things so we can't put them all together. So I know the codes. I know what I'm looking for is like the type of names. I think meningitis, measles, Ebola, Marburg. I know the certain names, but I think they're gonna do a host of different types of diagnoses to throw us off. So I know what I'm looking for is expression. So if they have their heads getting bigger, there's swelling of the brain, bleeding from the eyes and nose and ears, I know that that's most likely the bioweapon that's being expressed. Okay, so I know that much. But how it's spread, I can't say. Why are they doing this? They're psychopathic. They're psychopaths. This is a hologram. They're kind of like, they're vampires. They enjoy destroying people. They enjoy creating societies and breaking it down. They destroy the pain. Some beings like to eat the loosh, the pain and the sadness off of people. It's the control factor too. But they're psychopaths. If you look at all your Willy Wonka systems, they're all of them in the same accord. They're all being paid off. They all worship the same Satanists. They're Satanists. Ask the Satanists why they want to kill children and eat their organs. It's a power thing. It's also ritualistic. You know what I mean? There's, you can't rationalize with psychopaths though, because people who eat children now, I would say they're psychopaths, but if it's a different species of beings, then this could be just how they exist. This could be how they've survived. This is could be their behavioral pattern that they've done for centuries. You understand? So it could be a host of things, but we can't really judge it. And don't try to refrain from giving rationality to what's occurring. There isn't anything super rational about what's going on right now. Do you know what I mean? Like, like this, none of this can be rationalized. Because to some of us, would we do this to someone? Would we create this kind of havoc in someone's life purposefully? Maybe. I wouldn't. I wouldn't have the time nor energy, nor does it bring me happiness to destroy someone or destroy their ability to live happily. You know, some people, they get off on that, but I actually think these are subterranean type of beings. I call them many names. They're usually titled under different names. They're Babylonian Satanists, Jesuits, Zionists, Daros, because they have big noses and big ears. So that's why I know they're subterranean. They come from that. Their original origin was Eastern Europe. Okay, that's how they came underneath the tunnels. That's how they showed up in Eastern Europe underneath the ground, from underneath the ground. That's the original ones. Now, the other ones that are here, I don't know at all of them. But these are beings you can't trust. And because the United Fakes, all the Willy Wonka systems are paying so much money to all these countries, they're bribing people. So you can't even trust someone. So in an economy, when the economy is so difficult and people feel like they're struggling, it makes people more susceptible to being bribable. You understand? And they're hyper focused on materialism. So now everybody wants to be a billionaire. Everybody wants to have Prada bags and Maybachs, and everybody wants to live in a high rise, condo in Miami or live in Dubai. It's hyper focused on materialism. So people are always driving and striving to be super mega rich because that's how they motivate people to take bribes. You know what I mean? If you go to a young girl, you look at the young girls who go over to Dubai, they get pooped on by sheiks. Like, what in your life would ever make it acceptable that just for you to have material bags in a car, that you can have a man from a strange land poop and pee on you, and that would be acceptable for materialism, for material gain? You got to ask yourself that question. Why is it that our young ladies say, well, I'll do that for a bag? They're being very serious. Anyone who tells you that they will compromise ethics and values, even their family, for a bag, stay away from them. Those are the people during this time that if Willy Wonka comes up to them and says, listen, I'll give you $1,000 to spy on your neighbor, your sister, your brother, or to do something, they will do it. Okay? Hyper-focused materialism makes people very inceptible. That's why you aren't able to trust anyone who will take a bribe to compromise their family and you. And I've seen people do it with their own family. So you already know if they did it with their family, you are definitely going underneath the bridge. Okay? Values and morals aren't really being promoted nowadays. Anything goes. Remember, there were people saying they were cats and dogs. They're cats and dogs. They had kitty litter in the room. There are people saying they're not even of regular sex anymore. They're what do you call it? They're something. Remember, they said they're not trans. There's something they call themselves something like not trans. Gender, they're what do they call themselves? I forgot the term, like machines or something. I forgot the term. Remember the term they said they're God. I wouldn't touch a mushroom. Whoever said non-binary. Thank you, my love. Thank you. Non-binary is what is that? So you're basically a bioborg or some sort of non-organic being. You're telling me you're an NPC? Off the bat, maybe I need to know that. But mushrooms, I wouldn't touch a mushroom if you paid me. Gratefully, not knowingly. I wouldn't touch it. Not in this kind of environment. And it isn't to say, it's just like when people say, oh, I love metals, I like to wear gold. It isn't to say that these things aren't healthy when they're healthy. But in an environment where there's amplification of frequencies and radiation, and they're telling you it's 5G, it's suckers like 10G. They're pumping frequencies and it's moist and there's no sunlight. Putting mushrooms in your body is like basically putting a bioweapon right in your mouth. That's my opinion. I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't put it in my body. Gratefully, I stay away from it. The environment is really mushroom non-friendly. Go watch The Last of Us and tell me if you should eat a mushroom. This all bacteria and look, and all the dispensaries that they're promoting out here most likely have spores on it. That's probably why they're promoting it, and that's why it has candy, because candy is what? The sugar is a food source. So almost like they're giving you the bacteria with its food source on it. So when they have like Colorado candy, Pop Rocks, whatever the drug they carry in the dispensaries, why they have it accompanied with sugar? They're giving you your pet to put in your body with its food source to activate it. I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't touch it. Okay? That's my opinion. You can do whatever you want. I'm not here to judge you. It isn't the environment I would feel comfortable giving that to my family or even having it around. Okay? The Deagle report, go look at the Deagle report and you tell me what their plans are for you this year. Okay? Pulse Shift 2025. It's one of the things that is ongoing. It's happening as we speak. Some of the sea stars have already shown us that their water is spiraling in the reverse direction, meaning that we're in full-on pole shift right now. So the water streams, when you pour the water in your sink, the stream it spirals in one direction. It's going counterclockwise for some people. So big up to the sea stars and sun stars who actually were able to give us that information. So I'm going to go, y'all. I know I've talked to you. I'm kind of rambling all over the place. I don't want to give you all random information. I want to kind of stay focused. I kind of went off on tangent today, so I apologize. It doesn't matter if you grow it. It doesn't matter. I don't know if you... Do you get what I'm saying? It doesn't matter if you grow it yourself. It is a fungus. I don't know if you get that. It's that it's a fungus. It doesn't matter if you grow it yourself or not. It's a fungus. Funguses amplify in this type of environment. I don't know if you want that inside of your body right now. Because if you look at the people who have super cancer right now, and I've told you my opinion, I've looked at it underneath the microscope, it looks like a fungus. And it reacts like a fungus. If you want to add more of that fungus in your body, it's on you. Okay? Turbo cancer. Thank you. I'm Constance. Turbo cancer. I rebuke it. Rebuke. But I'm just telling you, it's up to you. It doesn't matter if you grow it. It doesn't matter if it's organic. It doesn't matter if it's free range. It's a fungus. A fungus is a fungus. Go watch The Last of Us. It's really disturbing. The spores, the environment, it's wet all over the place. It's a perfect cytostorm for fungus infiltration. Unicellular spikes. And it could be crazy. Okay, so you could say, FleurBrun, I think you're not. I think you're over the top. I could be. You know what I mean? I just share this information. I think I know, but it doesn't mean I know it. Take yourself and go and vet it out yourself, and you tell me if it's realistic. You tell me if you think that it makes sense. You tell me that if this is something that you think is viable. Okay? So, and I don't say you shouldn't. Mushrooms in the future may not be an issue. I just say now. Look at the spikes that they're pumping of frequencies. Go look at Fukushima and Chernobyl. I always give you this, okay? So I say, you may think I'm crazy, okay? So I'll give you some things to look up. Go look at the zombie snail. Write this down because it'll help you. Zombie snail and the zombie ant. Then I want you to go look up Fukushima and the black mold. And also Chernobyl and black mold. Look at the scientists who were doing work and found out what happens when the radiation was spiked so hard, what the mold was doing. Okay, look at the plants that are over in St. Croix, St. Thomas. I think those are the distilleries. Distilleries that make rum, where the sugar's being spread out, like shot out of the air, and all the trees around. Look what's on top of the trees outside of those distilleries. Okay. Those are all things that you could research yourself. Don't listen to the crazy Creole online that could just be talking on her behind. I could have worms all in me. You don't know. Go look it up. And then you tell me what you find, and you take that, because it's better. People have better, they appreciate things better when they get it themselves. I could share it with you. I could say the moon is blue and it's green. It doesn't matter. Vet it out yourself. Okay? But if you vet out and you find some validity to the things I share, I would take some of the advice. Stop sleeping with men who have worms in their semen. Clear them out before you let them sleep with you, and they need to commit to just you. If they're sleeping with multiple women, I wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole. They're infected with all kinds of bacteria, worms, and also sexually transmitted demons. The women, another woman sleeping with a man who has lack of self-control is most likely controlled by demons. Okay, that's a fact. Lack of self-control also means that that's not a sperm you want in you anyway. You want children you want a man who has self-initiation, self-direction, self-mastery, and self-restraint. A man that doesn't have those things, who's sleeping with multiple women in this kind of climate, that's the man you want to avoid. He has multiple issues, and all of his offspring will show up with those issues. Okay, women. And for men, the same. If she is non-designated, she's got all kinds of weird parts on her that are artificial intelligence, from sticking things and artificial stuff in her butt and her bust, tattoos all over her body. I would question that as well. As a man, you should question a woman that has she isn't protecting her body. You know what I mean? She's putting black goo in her veins. She's got parts in her behind, in her breast, in her eyelashes, her hair. You want a woman that has a healthier self-esteem, and also she isn't participating with artificial intelligence all in her body and on her body. Okay? That's for men. We don't just say women are infiltrated. Men are infiltrated. It's women too. It's everybody. Okay. So just be healthy, get a healthy partnership. If you want to have sex, I love sex. I wish we could have healthier sex. It's just unfortunately with this kind of a climate, you would have to really, vet out the partnerships, and you have less choices now, which is purposefully done. I try to find a partner that doesn't have a tattoo. Try to find a female that doesn't have artificial hair, eyelashes, buttocks, breasts, and tattoos on her body. It's going to be very difficult for you. Okay? So if you find someone who has clarity in her physical form and what she takes in, then maybe you want to engage with her. See if that's a possibility for you to have a regular relationship with just her. Okay? That would be healthy. Same with a man. If you find a man who doesn't, who is healthy in his mind, has healthy self-restraint, he doesn't have tattoos on his body. He doesn't play, watch sports. He's healthy in his the way that he treats his mother and his family and his sister, very protective. Those are things you could look forward to. And I'm not judging anyone who doesn't have all those things. I'm just saying it's very difficult if those are things, like those are the things I would look forward to, is being with a man who's tattoo free, who doesn't have multiple partnerships, who doesn't watch sports, who has a healthy cleansing pattern. I would engage with a man like that. I wouldn't have a relationship with a man who has tattoos. That's just that's what I would use as credentials. If I don't have tattoos on my body, why would I want him? You know what I mean? If I do, then it doesn't matter. But I'm only asking what I am. So I'm tattoo free. I have my hair. I haven't anything. I have zero interface with drugs. I'm not an alcoholic. Everything on me gratefully is real. So that's it. So again, this isn't judgment. If you have tattoos, if you have a lot of things, then you're okay maybe being with someone who's like you. That isn't my criteria. I would only ask what I am. That's all. So I wouldn't be with a man who has tattoos. I wouldn't be with a man who is engaged with women who have tattoos, or engages with women who have a lot of artificial parts. Just, it wouldn't be my thing. So maybe I'll have less choices, but that would be the criteria that I gear and who I would mate with. So, I have to mate with off-world men. Aliens. I might have to engage Is how many men aren't doing that? Because even if a man hasn't taken the cucarachi shot, he's sleeping with somebody who did. So it's just it's a very it's a very, what's wrong with sports? You weren't here for my earlier discussion. The fact that you asked what's wrong with sports, that could be the issue. Sports is a gay and a homosexual ritualized projection. It is meant to project homosexuality on men. It was created for that reason. Okay, that's why you see all the sports, especially things like football, where they're tights and putting their heads between men's legs, saying hike, hike, hike with brown ball. Everything has a ball, a brown ball. You know what I mean? If I have to, I don't want to criticize you because I know you're just asking, but just the fact that you asked that question means you're not conscious about that, and that maybe needs to be addressed, or maybe you don't care. Okay, because I could be crazy. Okay. But it is definitely, yeah, Greek Olympics. It's a homosexual ritual. All sports in this uniformed hologram are all homosexual based projections. They're meant to project homosexuality in males. That's why men like to sit together and watch it. It's like soft porn. Okay, watching a men jump with a brown ball in their hand, putting it in a hoop. You answered that question. I don't know. Wrestling. You see wrestlers, they're on top of each other, balls in the face, sweaty, touching another man. You think that's healthy? You think it's very heterosexual? Okay. I don't. I think it's very homosexual. Every very masculine man I know doesn't like sports. All the men that I knew that were very hyper masculine, they don't watch sports. And that's just my opinion. So, you can. What, football season is starting, I don't know when it starts. Yeah. Don't listen to my opinion. I have specific kind of things I judge and how I engage. So it may just be me, but that's just how I see things. Okay. I also think that men who are uncircumcised are better lovers. Okay. That's something else that most people don't like to hear, because in the environment where many males are being circumcised in hospitals and you're not Jewish and nobody questions why your son is being circumcised and he's not Jewish, then I don't know what's going on. Like, that should be a common question. Like, why are Christian hospitals or hospitals that are non-designated to any religion participating in an occult ritual that is designated for Jewish people? And then when you say that to people, they're like, oh my God, what are you talking about? Sir, the foreskin is unhygienic. Who told you that? Who has told you that having a foreskin is unhygienic? It is what nature creates on a child to protect his wand so that he's not overly stimulated and becomes numb and becomes a poor lover later on. Men who are uncircumcised are better lovers. You men may not know that because you're not having sex with uncircumcised men. We women are. And maybe you don't know because that's not a conversation a man would hear, but women compare those notes with each other. Okay? That is something that everyone needs to ask. When you go to the hospital and give birth to your son, the first thing they want to do is cut off his foreskin. You got to ask yourself why. If it's not a Jewish hospital, if you are not an Israelite, if that is not, I don't know if Israelites don't do that. Actually, Israelites keep their foreskin, but that's another conversation. Why are you participating in Jewish rituals with your son's wand? Why are you letting strangers touch your son's sexual organ just before he's even freshly out your womb? Ask yourself that question, and ask yourself the question, what has socially engineered you to think that's acceptable? Nature doesn't lie. Why would you let people tell you and demonize foreskins when it's actually the thing that helps men have healthy virility for longer? If you ever see societies where men keep their foreskin, their penises don't stop working as early as the men in societies where they're circumcised. It messes with their sensitivity because once you take the foreskin off, the penis is constantly being, touched and they feel everything. It descends because when you put the foreskin over, if anyone has ever engaged with a man with foreskin, once the foreskin is over, it protects it. It doesn't make it sensitive, oversensitized. If they do anything, they move. It's not overly being it's not overly being stimulated. once you cut it off, it's being overly stimulated, and that numbs the sensory and makes sex less for them. Okay? And actually, men who are circumcised, who aren't circumcised, they're not only just better lovers, they're much more loving to their partners. They tend to be more faithful. They can be more faithful based on certain things. It's because your pheromones stay in them longer, and they tend to, it's like a what is it called, an alchemical. There was a Rasta who talked about this many years ago, and I can't remember verbatim when he talked about it, but he talked about it's an alchemical thing, like when a man sleeps with a woman and he isn't circumcised, like literally she stays on him longer, and it makes bonds with her longer. I forgot, it was a way he said it. I don't know verbatim. I don't know that I could, so long ago, and I just thought to myself, oh wow. But I come from a place, our tribe doesn't circumcise our men. So all of our men are uncircumcised. So, I'm just asking questions. Like, why would you be circumcising your child if it's a Jewish ritual? Just ask yourself that question. That's all. And who told you it's unhygienic? Who told you that? So when we're girls and we have lips on our yonis, your mother didn't teach you how to open your lips up and wash your vagina? Like, I hate to be so blunt and so crass, but did your mother not teach you how to wash your vajayjay? Like, we were all taught, like, as young girls, like, hey, you have to pull it open. Okay, clean this way. So what would make you feel like males wouldn't get that kind of suggestion on how to clean their uncircumcised penises? Like, do you think that no one would tell them how to clean it? Okay. These are like this is like things that nobody talks about. Nobody, you know why? Because everyone's under mind control. Everyone's suffering from Stockholm syndrome. It's just a lot of things are not being shared that are just matter of fact things that we should all have, but we're ran by Babylonian Satanists, and they benefit. And who sells your foreskins? Who is benefiting from the sale of foreskins? You got to ask the companies and the background and the religious background of people who are selling foreskins, who are making top tier money selling foreskins in Bloomingdale, Saxon Fifth Avenue, Neiman Marcus. Like, who's making all that money off of the foreskins? That's a form of harvesting, isn't it? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Is it too much for y'all? I'm sorry. Put a like on the video. I think I lost a lot of people in the room. I'm sorry. I think all the men had to step out of the room. They're feeling a certain way. Don't feel a certain way, our gentlemen. First of all, it's not your fault if you don't have your foreskin. It is not your fault. There's actually a contraption you can buy to have a foreskin if you wanted to get it back to help you out. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But it's no criticism to you. I don't sit here and criticize you, because most of you men in here who've been circumcised, your mother made the decision or your father made the decision on your behalf. You didn't have any control. I don't blame you. I don't say you're negative. I don't say anything. I just tell you that if you have a son, if you're going to have children, if this is something you need to think about, I'm just telling you the truth of what that's about. Okay? I'm just sharing the truth. So I don't criticize you. I wouldn't say, oh, this guy is circumcised, he's certain. Absolutely not. There's beautiful men that are circumcised. I'm just telling you the reason why they might have been motivated to circumcise you and your sons. And it had nothing to do with the health of your child or the healthy homeostasis of your son's wand or of the hygienicness. It had to do with harvesting their foreskin that they sell for $400 for 0.2 ounces. And also, it's a ritual that's done by Jewish people for their children. And why are you participating? Unless you're a Jew. If you're Jewish, that's fine. That would make sense. That's part of your religious structure. But if you're not Jewish, why would you let people do Jewish rituals on your son's wand? That's all. I just asked you to ask that question. That's it. Wands matter, but you can buy a foreskin, y'all. How I know this, don't worry about it. You can actually buy one. I don't know if you would. We a couple years ago, I think I was talking about it, we just found, like, I don't know, it was one of the sea stars in the group. They found, like, artificial foreskins. I think the concept of that is to protect your wand, so it's not overly sensitized, so you have better sex. I think that was it. If I'm not mistaken, I got to look at the site again. But I think if you start covering it like a foreskin, it actually becomes more sensitive. So I think that's the concept of getting your foreskin on. So you guys could look at. I know this is this. I shouldn't be discussing this online. Is this too much? I'm very Creole, y'all. French people, we don't have boundaries. Is this too much? I apologize. I think I lost like half the group. This might be too much. Is it too much for you guys? Is it over the top? I don't know. I hope I'm being helpful. You know? And also for mommies or women that are gonna have children in the future, I hope this is helpful for you, or dads. Like for dads, like are gonna have your sons in the future. I hope I'm helpful for you so that maybe you would think differently for your son, right? Maybe it'll be different, like for you to make a decision on your son's behalf, right? And make him healthier. So I don't know, like all wands matter. Healthy wands matter. I'm gonna get a hat. I could say wands because they're not gonna know what I'm talking about. Like healthy wands matter, right? A healthy wand, my God, what is wrong with that? You're helping the women of the future. Oh my gosh. Big up to all the uncircumcised sun stars in here. You know what I mean? You're like relics. Oh my God. Okay, let me get off of here. I'm being obscene. My mother wouldn't want me having this discussion on a public format. I don't think she would approve of the conversation. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm wishing everybody happy days. Happy days. It's raining. I gotta go out and get some stuff at the store for my little ones. Even though it's raining. I gotta be careful of the mushroom people. Be careful of the mushroom people. If you start seeing people glitching out and stuff, be careful, okay? Because the mushroom people might be out here. I don't know. I'm going out in the rain. I spray myself with antifungal when I get in the house. Whenever I'm out in the rain, you should also do that. I spray myself with an antifungal just to make sure, because we don't know what's inside of the air. That they're, bioweapons. We don't know how they disperse it in different ways. Anyway, y'all, I'm out of here. Let me apologize for everyone that I offended. You will know that occasionally FleurBrun will offend somebody in here. I apologize because sometimes I don't know. I'm just unfiltered. It could be the Sag thing. I'm trying to help a wand out. I'm trying to help a sister out. I'm trying to help us all out. We love males. Let's just say this. We love healthy males. We want you to be healthy. We want you to be virile. We want to receive you in a healthy way. I hope I'm helping you out. Okay? I'm going to go out. I really want more coffee. I think I'm going to get another coffee. It's small. Judge me if you want. I'm going to eat something too, because I don't think I ate something. I have coffee. That's not smart. Don't follow me. I got to have better, but it was so good. I got to have another coffee, y'all. Okay? So I'm going to talk to you guys tonight in about 6 more hours or 5 more hours on Zoom. Well, I'm going to bring up the foreskin, the false foreskin. If anybody, I should be like Rabbi Smoothie, who sells kosher butt plugs. You know how Rabbi Smoothie is selling kosher butt plugs? I should actually... Oh, they're closing. Are they closing? My coffee place is closing. Oh, let me go get my coffee out. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna sell foreskins. Healing foreskins. That's gonna be my future endeavors. Okay, I'm out of here. I gotta go. They're gonna close my coffee place. Okay, bye everybody. I'll see you tonight on Zoom. Bye. Peace.